Hello, hello. Welcome back. RSP coming at you live 5x5. Happy Wednesday / Thursday to everybody out there. You'll notice first up, an hour earlier, slight tuning, just tweaking. Wanted to kind of make this a little easier for some of the people East Coast US and also Europe. Took an edge off of that time. It was pushing midnight, 1 a.m. for many of them. So I wanted to bump that up a little bit. And this also keeps the times in Asia, Australia, New Zealand somewhat respectable for the morning. I think New Zealand's 10 a.m. and Australia's 8 to 10 and Tokyo's 8 a.m. So hope that is good for everybody. We're going to go with this 2 p.m. for a while, see how this goes. I think I'm going to kind of tweak that a little bit. Oops. Out of my way. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy hump day to our boy Jim. And then Stephen Corbett says, good evening, Mike, and everyone. Hope you have a good couple of weeks. It's the end of unofficially the end of summer as of Monday, at least in the U.S. Kids probably back in school. Most people in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm guessing. I don't know what you guys do below the equator. A bunch of fuck calls. Oh, I'm kidding. I love you. Time for some OPR and weathering. Yeah, we'll be doing some of that. And then our boy 2FS says good evening, and TC says good morning. Bookends. Wait here. If I look at the map this way, bookends. Kind of still Commonwealth though, right? Bruce Oppenhagen, says hello. Where are you from, Bruce? And then Matt Schaefer. Hello, Matt. How are you, bud? Good to see you. Mr. Mediocre Middle-Aged. You're not mediocre, brother. And then, of course, there is Nog. Who is Nog? Yeah, so Nog, I went and bought a few more bases from Blick. 5x7, at least in inches, is not quite the size. I was going to say too small, but there's too many jokes in there for that. So we'll bypass that. But yeah, I'm thinking if I could find myself like a 5x9 base pre-made would be good for what we're talking about. But yeah, 9 a.m. for you, Nog. Okay, I thought it was 10. Why does one clock say one thing and you're like nope? But then again, I am putting in Auckland, so maybe you are an hour shifted from there. From looking at that, maybe that is also the case. Got to hang that. So Jim, that's an exterior mason wall, brother, and I rent. So I'm not 100% convinced I can drill into that wall legally and get away with it yet. That's why they're sitting there. The rest of the room's hung up, but that's the exit. That's the outside of the building. So by the way, in case you were wondering, the building I'm in now, I went from one that was literally 2 to 3 years old, as you guys were there for a year with me. This one is officially, I think, 117-year-old building. So to our boys in older countries, we're getting up there. We're over, this building is at least over a century. Boa noite, Quantum Plastic. Hello, buddy. How are you? Brazil? Is that Portuguese? I can't. I mean, Matt 58 says hello, and Mike, Officer Mike says hello as well. Hope you're good, bud. Martinez 81 says hello, and Ace of Spades says good afternoon. Finally catching a live one here. Sweet. That is awesome. Good to have you, Eric. Right? Is that right? All right. Try to remember everybody's name when I can. But I know there's a lot of avatars and screen names and whatever else. So let's see what else. Gotta hang that on. You've been there for a month. Yeah. So in my defense, all the artwork is hung up. It's just that wall behind me. And the reason is I don't really have anywhere else to film in this room, and so I've got these 2 east-facing windows. The afternoon time is good. The sun's overhead, but I have morning conference calls, and that sun is just blazing. Feel bad. Just outside DC. Okay. I thought maybe you're one of the Dutch contingent, Bruce, but maybe that's another fella. Pietro says good evening. This time from the futures from Europe. Sweet. Welcome. Vivian says hello. Also near DC. Oh, sweet. Bunch of East Coast. Yeah. So I'm hoping just a tweak of the time. I'm trying to get a time that we all can kind of agree on. Not that you're going to have any input whatsoever. You don't, by the way. It's just me and the boss. We have to figure this one out. Kind of just playing with schedules a little bit. There's some stuff coming up. We'll get into that. We'll get some more through some greetings here. And then we'll get into the good stuff. We'll get into some RSP news to launch the show, to update you guys from the last episode. and then news for this week and next week, and so on and so forth. Yes, character. That is the word of the day, Jim. Pete Toohey, hello, bud. Bunch of DC boys in the house. Yep, good memory. I'm all right. I'm there, Ace. I got you. George, old school gunplay. Hello, buddy. Good to see you. And Fran Carello, 29. Hello from the Paris countryside. Now that doesn't suck, does it? And then Red Beach. Hello, Robert. Good to see everyone. Looking forward to this live stream. Some good RSP news and more OPR. Yeah, the title's probably misleading. I don't know how much OPR. So what I do is I think I'm going to talk about certain things, and then I spent most of my evening in prep for today, previous evening, in prep for today. And then I had a bunch of conference calls that screwed up my workday in terms of getting ready for the stream. So I'm not quite as far along as I'd hoped for. So we'll see what kind of OPR we do. I have in front of me, I have the Cromwell. I have a new civilian construction piece of equipment in front of me. And then there is, behind me, there's the Tempest and the P61. We might have like an OPR powwow towards the end of the show. We actually might even be doing some it's not a tarp, two-part epoxy cast structure making today. We'll get into what's going on. Some of you Patreon boys already know what's coming, and that is the love of Patreon. So if you're considering supporting Rinaldi Studio Press past the bullshit of the books, which will be cleared up soon, I do promise you guys this. That is, you have my word on that. Some really good news coming. I've had to be really tight-lipped with this in terms of who it is and what we're doing. It's not a paint company, so I don't want anybody to think it's one of the traditional hobby stuff that you guys hear about in the hobby in terms of what's going on with Rinaldi Studio Press. But we do have a new partner. We have inked 2 contracts, one for North America and one for international. So it is a global operation, which I'm pretty excited about. It's a long-term proposition for me. I'm all in. We're going for the Super Bowl win. We are, the previous Rinaldi was Bledsoe, and I'm hoping the new Rinaldi's Brady. And it's all that. We got a lot to go over because football's here. Yay! Although my team lost. Yeah, not cool. Not cool. Anyway, hello, Mike and fellow RSPs. Hello, Arnell. How are you, bud? Quantum Plastic from Portugal, original Portuguese. Good vibes. Yep, I thought I was right. Boa Noite. Is that right? Boa Noite. Am I saying that right? Probably not. I will butcher the words until you guys tell me. But we're going to have a little terminology quiz earlier because I don't think Yuval's going to roll through. And then we'll get to this. You'll know what I'm talking about here in a sec. We'll loop it all back around. Hello, Darren Tor. How are you, buddy? We are having a great day. Arnold's just passing by. It's late here. Yeah, it's probably a little bit late, but bonsoir, Arno. Congrats, Mike. Officer Mike just saying congrats. So he doesn't even know what's going on. You don't even know what's going on, Officer Mike. You just pay attention. You should be eyes forward, sir. You should not be watching the screen while you're in the squad car. Hello, Tony. How are you, buddy? Gata scale model works, and then thank you, Quantum. You're kind. You're being too kind. Okay, so first up, as I mentioned the last previous stream and probably hinted at it before, most of Rinaldi Studio Press's contractual obligation problems with production, printing, shipping, fulfillment. We now have a new partner coming on. We'll disclose who they are pretty soon. They want to make sure I'm from their side, and it's a big company. I have to move at their pace, and again, it'll all make sense when it comes out. It's a company I've dealt with for a good decade on and off, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm also happy to be truthful, and not to shit on anybody's parade, but I'm just glad it's not a hobby company. I've had enough of the scale model industry in terms of how they like to work and how they don't like to work, so on and so forth. And I'll leave it at that. It's probably the last time I'll ever really mention it. Just not a fan. 10 years of it, 18 years total, not a fan. So it's a publisher, so we're pretty excited about that. They do books, we do books. That's our core business. And to close that circle, these streams, Patreon, a lot of digital content coming is really going to be designed to bolster your interaction and enjoyment of the printed material. That is the goal of this. To do these videos, to do the OPR, the chipping relentlessly over and over and over again is really so that when you guys sit down and nobody's around and it's just you, that you kind of really start to connect the dots on your end, for kind of a whole new generation of finishes out there for you guys that are available with these techniques. So that's the end game for what I'm trying to do. I've always been trying to do that. And it's a little bit entertaining on the fact that I'm an idiot sometimes. It's fun to watch me be stupid, which is cool. But at the same time, coach gets his hat on, we get serious, and we'll do some work and we'll do some good stuff too. So pretty excited about all of that. Again, I probably have to keep quiet through middle of September. Some of you have been emailing and or direct message on terms of your orders. Everybody's fine. Nobody has to write me anything. Every single order for the last decade is taken care of. You're all going to be good, I promise. And so I'm excited about that. We're getting back to the printer is good to go. They have confirmed everything is fine on their end. So we took care of 7 months of BS, and we made good on a couple of things, both financially and contractually. So that's good, which is nice. Slightly separate conversation. They're running parallel. There's a partner and then there's a printer. A lot of you guys get confused with it's confusing because I know it's a lot, but there's fulfillment and shipping, which means who sends you your order. There is production, which is me, and then getting the books to the printer to print. And then there's a printer who physically does all that work. Everything's in line and order now. So I'm hoping. Muy importante. So I'm trying to make sure that it's all, everybody's got their T's crossed and their I's dotted before that we make the official announcement, but it's coming. Probably even maybe have to do a special stream for it too. That said, what else? So good news on that front. It has put me in a much better mood overall during the day in terms of like, I know things are going to be okay in terms of the company and all that. When you have business conversations like that, it's been a shitty year. I won't lie. 2022 it's been the shittiest of years. Quote, put that in quotes. So most of you know what happened. I've done enough podcasts and interviews to get that word out there. So what else is going on? Which is kind of big. It's super busy. Labor Day, football. What else? That's probably enough, right? School started for those of you families out there that have kids going to school. I think most of the schools have started Monday, Tuesday. My niece went back to school today for her first day back. 8th grade. My niece is in 8th grade. Wow, that's crazy. Time flies. I don't like the love letters. I don't. Hello, Forrest. How are you, bud? Good to see everyone. Greg Mix is checking in. Christian Smakin. Hello, brother. Good to see you. Congrats, dude. Thanks, man. Yeah, you've walked that walk with me for a while. Yeah, it's good news. It's good all around. Yeah, and speaking of that, we have Formula One is back from their summer holiday-ish, I guess. The Max show. It's just basically the Max show. Which is good. Fun times there. So we have a good second half of this year lined up. We're about 2 months past what I had hoped to be, but we'll be able to catch up with printing pretty soon. My goal from a company-wise for all the pre-orders, just to answer this question, KINGART 2 first, reprint, SM4 at the same time and or immediately following. It might be a double shipment. That's logistics to work out. And then the technique guides 1 and 2. So that should all happen before Halloween. That's the goal. And then before at least U.S. holiday, Thanksgiving, SM5 and 6 and into the Christmas season in terms of that. It'll probably be enough for us it's already mid-September. That's going to be a lot for all of them to get done and blah, blah, blah. It's a goal. I'll tell you when it's a promise. So don't hold me to it. But we'll get most of that done. I feel good about that, which is great. And then we're rolling in 2023. I think probably what I'll do is in terms of new books past what you see on the website and new products coming, give about a month and we'll start teasing some stuff out. All this stuff is all stream builds. This is all for your enjoyment, for your education, for your entertainment, for, just to kind of work on while the books are going on. And then those of you on Patreon, you're getting quite a few exclusives, including, just almost 2-3 videos a week now. If you're not aware, you probably should be. I don't do a ton of edited content. What this does is it allows me to post more frequently. I'm not spending my time cutting up film into other stuff. And I'm pretty confident in live building and painting for you guys. So on Patreon, you're getting through all the tiers, multiple videos. So if it's something you want to consider, I strongly recommend it as kind of if you're serious about this, you want to learn kind of the RSP stuff and all that stuff, I'd strongly recommend it. $5 to start. You get most of the stuff. $10, you get your special series with the technique guides. And then there's the mecha guides, which once this is all done today, the next group will be a bunch of mecha projects that are getting ready for paint, which will be pretty fun. And then we have the large 35th scale mecha armor diorama thing that's ongoing, which is pretty cool too. So, yeah. So it's probably enough for now. That's enough information. Yeah, is that good? Enough for you guys? Most of you will forget. I know Officer Mike's going to ask me 10 questions tomorrow. What just happened? But that's okay. I'm fucking with you. Yeah, it'll be good, George. I tell you, man, that's the perfect word, because it's just kind of it's a miserable way to run a business. And some of it's my fault. A lot of it's not. A lot of it is some of it's even criminal. You know, there'll be lawsuits down the road. People that's just honest bullshit. Yeah, muy importante. Cheers from Majid. Hello, Anton. Hey, how's the weather in Spain? Is it calming down a little bit? Because I'm watching La Vuelta, which is the other thing on. And then I think the Tour of Britain just started, although haven't really watched the Tour of Britain. But the La Vuelta, if you're watching La Vuelta de España, good bike race this year. The exhaust muffin Mike says a question. I thought of just starting over. Will the Mr. Surfacer primer stick? Yep, you're fine. You're fine. Hello, Robert from Poland. MGK, hello, buddy. I like your avatar photo, MGK. It's nice. I found my old Army photos. I think I was a wee lad at 17. Woo! That little green uniform. I was just a punk. Just a punk. Okay, hello, Patty Cakes. What's up, brother? Okay, let's hit it. So, Patreon boys, you guys already know this. You guys have seen the Churchill. Le Churchill. This is the actual issue 45 MMIR. It's the painting guide. It's the winter Churchill. You don't need to see my face anymore. I mean, not up close. So if you could come on camera, work with me. There we go. If you guys recall, are we good 5x5? Are we okay on music and video? Everybody good? Just checking in, because I'm making sure. Can you hear everything okay? Can you guys hear music? I don't know. We're back to radio, or at least like lo-fi. So this is the actual Mark VII Tamiya Churchill from that issue, which I think was painted, don't quote me, let's just call it 2008 or 9. The whitewash is actually Humbrol enamel, brush painted to showcase. In November of 1944, the British did a winter maneuver attack. It's post-market garden, and I forget the name, like an idiot. This is what I'm for. It's what I'm here for. Their Churchills it's one of the few times you actually see, there's a couple, 2 or 3 groups of photos you will see a winter Churchill in, and this is one of them. From what we could tell in the photos, all the tanks were painted just on the vertical surfaces with the brushed on, mopped on white. And that's what this model was. To loop that story back around, the model was built, painted, published, and then the model was sold on eBay. And for whatever reason, because I'm an eBay hoe bag, I looped back around and was looking at built models, and I saw this Churchill roll through, and I'm like, oh, that looks really familiar. It happened to be my model. Actually, somebody was put it back up on eBay. So I grabbed it, because why not? And it sat in my storage for a decade. And then has been brought back for yeoman's duty as both coaching mule of how do you add on weathering to an old model, which was a coaching session for one chap. Nice gentleman. And then a second coaching session was how do you do multiple layered chipping, non-hairspray with the Mission Models paint system, which is what all this was, which went swimmingly. But that's actually, I'm debating just cutting that panel out and sending it to him, because that's kind of not bad. Kind of like that. Blue's always fun. By the way, baby blues, pastel colors, if you're not into that with weathering and stuff like that, pastels are always super fun to work with. So that said, it was at the stage of, and then it got another demo on OPR, and you probably can see what's going on. And you probably guessed by now, because you should know what this is. If you don't, well, you better be a clean builder like Chris Pabs, and you just don't know what that is. We're going to do a little kit bashing. So anyway, I have long wanted to do something like this, and that is really to say, what if Israel had access to Churchills? Because they went through Korea, they had Shermans, they had AMX 13s, all variants, they had M48s, 46s, etc., some other stuff. They had a bunch of things, right? They had a lot. I don't know how many Cromwells and comments came through, but obviously the Centurion is the main one. But what if a Churchill had come through the IDF Corps? So that's what I wanted to do. And then second to that was to not use resin per se, and really do a hardcore gunpla style kitbash. And you don't have that too often, but what I had after doing some research felt was taken, because I wanted the blazer armor, so I wanted to do a Churchill with reactive armor is kind of, that was my goal. And so what's that time frame? That puts you kind of towards the late 70s into the early 80s in terms of that conversation with Israel and the forces there and what they're doing from armor development. So it's kind of coming out of the Super Sherman and into kind of the Centurion becoming before the Merkava came online. And so that's how you say it, by the way. It's Merkava. And you can think I don't think Yuval is going to come through, but we do have an IDF tank commander on the team, not me, but on our team, who is going to hopefully provide some kind of advice down the road. But he did kind of supply me with some information and stuff, which is pretty cool. So I picked up this particular kit. It's AFE Clubs 35267. It's the Sho't Gimel version, or Gimel. I'm guessing it's Gimel. Basically early 80s with the blazer armor. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do your traditional hardcore kitbash, and we're going to cut up the Centurion bits and pieces, and we're going to put them on a Churchill. So my goal with this is twofold. It's got to look like a Churchill #1. It cannot be stupid #2. That's just the rule of life. Just by the way, don't quote me on that one. So that means no, we're not putting a 120. We're not putting the Sherman's 105. No. I spent a lot of time debating armament, studying 60s and 70s up armored guns. I went through, the first conversation you're going to have with, you're doing something like this. The reason the Churchill stopped, and if you don't know, is because this hole here is too small for most things. No pun intended, that's what she said. But what we're getting into is the turret race limits the guns that the Churchill could carry. It's why it never received what the Comet received, and why the black prints and all this stuff came out. Why the Centurion was such a substantially larger vehicle. If you study, if you look at these things, and now it's not true to scale, but that's a pretty sizable increase in the turret race, which is how you really determine the weight of the turret plus the gun system. And if you study British armor development 43 plus, past the Matildas and Crusaders and Churchills, and you get into early Centurions, you get into, there's a Firefly, which is also part of that conversation. The Comet, you kind of start to piece that together. Then you get into the Conqueror. Then you get into all is it Armored Archives? YouTuber, he does all just the mess of the glorious mess. I'll add the word glorious of all the British armor development in the 50s and 60s, which is all over the place, which is crazy. So that's the premise of what we're doing. And so that's actually a really good idea, Patty Cakes. There are sets that have these pieces separately, but I felt because of the compilation of the engine. So what does Israel do? So let's break this down a little bit further to why it should not be stupid. In other words, it's got to be somewhat relatively believable. The first thing they almost always did was replace the engines with the Continental diesels and so on and so forth. Almost everything had that upgrade. And I think once they got a hold of the M48 diesel engines and all that kind of stuff. So it has the diesel, basically the diesel engine deck. We'll get into, I'll show you what I did here in a sec on this guy, because it does fit pretty good. To the gun, sorry, I cut myself off. Study the Cockerel, which is that 90 mil low pressure gun that you see in a lot of armored cars. Obviously it comes with a 75. So my first thought was a bigger 75, which is if you go into French development, sidebar, which is AMX 13, which Israel had, you get the long barrel Panther gun, or basically the French version of the original Panther gun, what that was. That develops into the 90, into the 105, which is the Super Sherman side. I think that's too long and too obvious a little bit for this tank. I thought I've even got, or the kit does come with the metal one, which is pretty nice, by the way. Comes with the L7, and it looks absurd. And this turret's pretty small. If you've not seen a Churchill up close, I've been to Overloon, and inside Overloon I think is a Mark 7. It's a Mark 5 or 4. It's one of the engineer vehicles in the lobby of Overloon, and it sits right next to a Sherman. And the Churchill's not a large tank, by the way, if you don't know that. The Centurion's big. Centurion's a sizable beast. Shermans are pretty good size, if not on the upper, in the Panther size, Tiger 2 size of that slope. It's high, it's big. Like you look up. Churchill, I can look across the tracks and across the upper deck. So it's a pretty compact vehicle. That all said, I spent last night kind of going through, back to the gun like an idiot. So anyway, let me just get to it. So what I settled on was the 90 mil for the M47s. Instead of going the 105 route and the 20-pounder route, because they would have put that in the Churchill anyway if they could have fit the 20-pound. They couldn't fit the 17. They couldn't fit the 20. You can probably quote me, and I'm probably screwing this up. The 90 probably doesn't fit, but it's basically, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Pershing gun realistically moving forward. They would have had access to it. I'm hoping it fits. If not, well, you can sue me later. That's what we're doing. So I've got and plus, well, okay, so there was that conversation. And then there was the TACOM AMX 13/90, and they have 105. So none of these have aftermarket barrels because I'm not buying a full kit just for the gun barrel, which I'm like, I can't do that. Even though I probably would have built it later, I'm just not an AMX 13 guy. It's all right. It's not on my radar. And so I'm like, well, so I spend weeks looking for aftermarket barrels for the TACOM AMX or the Heller kit. Not much. There's the original 75, which I already like, nope. So anywho, that's also part of it, was that there's actual barrels available for this one. And I wanted the European, the cylindrical muzzle. That was the other part of that too. I think that'll look cool. Kind of like a larger version of the Mark V with the 85 close support howitzer, which is, again, kind of parallel thinking. So what do we got? Did I miss any conversation? Nice weather here in Madrid. Luckily for us, very hot summer. Yeah, hopefully not as bad. Everything's good. Good nog. Quantum Force 5x5. Okay, sweet. Good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, double check. Technique guides 1 and 2. Been waiting a while. Yeah, scroll back, Jimbo. You can live scroll back to that conversation on the books. And then Patty Case wants to do reactive armor and Xeon kit, and have been able to really focus on sort of, yeah. And there's ways to do this, Pat, because stuff like this, you can get a kit like this and really try to kit bash all the reactive armor pieces that go, which is pretty cool. However, even Russian armor stuff, they're all boxes. It's probably, you could chop up some plot plate pretty quick. In fact, my friend Patty Cakes, if you know what this is, you know what this is. I've been wanting one of these for a minute. I caught wind of this bad boy, and this is the first time I really feel the name's appropriate. It cracks me up, their fucking name, right? God hand. So this is a styrene chopper, because I don't like the chopper, and I never did, and I couldn't get it to work right. It was always a little bit off because it uses just a weird system, but able to get one at half price on eBay, by the way. So I'm pretty happy about that. So what else we got? Jeff Lamb, hello. Live video to move. I had to move, took it down. Yeah, I feel you, Jeff. Having done that recently, it's taken a bit of time. And Bryce says hello, and Marino. Hey, Marino, what's up, brother? Good to see you. And Phil Bonafini, good to see you too. Hope all is well. Yes, sir. And Arnell says IDF M50 or 51. Yeah, so we're doing a Super Churchill. What else? Thank you, Matt. If you need to hide bodies, it is. I'm Officer Mike. You're not wrong. Yeah. To your repainting the primer, repainting your exhaust, you may just knock that down with sandpaper. By the way, I meant to say just knock that down with sandpaper, respray some new surface primer, and you'll be fine. Okay, so that said, there's obvious things to deal with. First up, the Centurion is substantially wider than a Churchill. Now, the Tamiya kit, I should also back up a little bit. If you want to do something like this, just start with the AFE Club kit. I'm only doing this project on this model, Tamiya's Mark VII, which is showing its age. It does. It's the 1970s kit. I think it's one of the late 70s and or early 80s kit mold. It's shown its age. It just was my model, whatever. So it's just kind of that whole thing. But you can see here, you're. So do you widen it? Do you widen the Churchill? So let's get into Israel's kind of performance with modifications, if you will. First up is the re-engineering. However, you're not seeing a ton of modifications to the chassis itself in terms of restructuring, reformulating the chassis. So cutting the Churchill open to widen it up to fit Centurion and stuff like this, I don't think they would have done that. I don't think it would have been a smart play. I'm going to treat this kind of like a close support vehicle, kind of heavy APC proposition or support of those guys, the Pumas and all that kind of stuff, kind of second level. That was kind of where I was going with this. Not quite full APC because you can't really carry any people in this, but you could carry some close support equipment. Stuff of this ilk, they had access to it. That was kind of my play on that. So widening the Churchill, widening. The other problem you have is Tamiya's Churchill was motorized. And if I'm correct in my memory, it's slightly too skinny for motorization processes in the 70s, which is why it's slightly off. I don't remember the dimension, but don't quote me, but I'm going to say 2 millimeters too skinny in the whole width. I think the fender width's fine. I think the width of the Tamiya Churchill is, I believe it was 2 mils. Could be wrong on that. However, I didn't feel like going through the trouble to get the 2 mil back. Again, start with the AFE Club kit. It's a little bit better kit anyway, especially in the fender. If you want to expose the tracks, a lot better kit to play with that. So that was the first bit of conversation I had with myself was, do I get into that? Because then you get into the whole conversation of bigger turrets and the whole, nothing else fits. So widening the model to fit Centurion doesn't work. So you got to chop the Centurion bits up to fit the Churchill, which is its own thing. It's not a bad thing. Should I get this back on here? So the first thing you want to do is AFE Club presents you with, nicely, by the way, because you've got spares up the wazoo. These Centurion kits are kit bashes in and of themselves from AFE Club. So you've got, I believe, all the Mark 3/5 decks are in here, engine decks, and other bits and pieces. You have the multiple fender stowage bins. You've got different rear ends. You've got different fender layouts. You've got different front ends. You've got a whole lot to work with in these kits. And they don't do the best job of they just basically tell you what part go with what kit, and they don't really tell you, like Bandai tells you, don't use these parts if it's one of those situations, whereas AFE Club kind of it's just open. Dragon does the same thing. It's kind of silly. It's all open in, and there's a bunch of parts on the sprue. You're like, I don't know where they go. Did I screw up? But no, you didn't. You're fine. First thing I did was I was going to cut the deck out. Was my first thought. Do I just cut the deck out and then fit the new deck in? Yeah, it's like, well, the structure is better, and then the way that the height of that would go up was better. So what I did was I took the AFE Club kit and I chopped off, and it was approximately, just with the razor saw, about a 1/4 inch, about 3-4 millimeters each side. And there's a part line or like one of these little ribbies, longitudinal. There's a little longitudinal molding that goes right there. And I think what we'll do today is maybe I'll use my little chopper and we'll close those up. So I chopped those up each side, did some measurements, 45 millimeters in between, and this, just kind of measured that out. I've got some little wall tack up there. I'd say blue tack, but it's not blue. It's not blue. So it'll position somewhere around there. And this is kind of the planning stages of these kind of projects. That's not the sexy part, but it's the fun part because you get to be a little bit creative and figure stuff out and problem solve. And so I think once it'll lift up around there. So what I'm going to have to do though is figure out its position and probably machine a little bit off of the base of the turret. What I think we'll do today is this guy's loose. What I think I'm going to do is trim this guy up. We're going to glue him back on. And to that Israeli modification conversation, the back of the Sherman turrets on the Super Shermans were probably, in my recollection, of modifications in terms of structure, one of the few main ones they really, really did in terms of tank development, right? Everything else was add-on. If you think of how they do, the fenders are different, the boxes are different, the reactive armor is all bolted on, all the side skirts are bolted on and off. Suspension was stock. The standard armor underneath was all pretty much stock, right? They weren't doing like what Germans did with the Stugs, where they were doing different things. They were concrete armor. None of that. None of the Shermans have new armor on them, if I'm correct, right? Except for that back counterweight. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a counterweight situation on the back of the Churchill turret, and then see how that kind of turns out. I was playing with, and I believe these are air cleaners. I don't have my Centurion reference in front of me. So I've got side bins on the turret. They probably won't fit. I'll probably have to make my own. Did I miss anything? Comments, you guys are listening. crazy expensive general in the States as well. It's only had a couple got hit. Yeah. So by the way, I'm sorry, I'll loop back around. That was kind of a dick move of showing off. That was a flex. This is about $100 plus to $140 out of Japan. And what this is a high precision styrene cutter. And so what I mean by that is when you cut styrene, or when you're scratch building and you're doing small bits and pieces, when you're using your nippers, which most of us do, or a knife, you know, if you're using your kniffy and you're just manning that, you're just pressuring that blade through there, you'll tweak that cut. And so was it Northwest Shorelines? You have the cutter, you have Display and a bunch of other devices. I actually think how I work, because I don't like a lot of heavy tools on my bench. I like the hand tool idea, and I'm even with photo etch bending tools and stuff like that. I prefer Tamiya's photo etch plier over the etch mates and stuff. I have them and I love them, but I'm like, I never use the things. Same with the cutters. I think I had all the Northwest Shoreline cutters and sanders and all used like once. And I don't do a ton of scratch bending, but I think you guys, if you know me, to know I'll modify. I don't have a problem cutting shit up. Don't bother me none. But Neo, who's a famous, well-known Japanese gunpla builder on YouTube and also in the publications in terms of Bandai and robots and all that kind of, for those of you in the tank world, Japanese tools and some of the newer versions of stuff are pretty impressive. It's heavy, expensive up front, but all you're replacing over time is the blades, and this should last me my lifetime. So I'm okay if a tool's $100 if it's Makita built, which is kind of what God Hand is. They're kind of the Makita of hobby tools. So, but I found it on eBay. Dude said best offer. I was like 85 shipped. He said, yeah. I said, all right, well, that's $40 off. So I took it. And I'm going to use it forever. I mean, that's what I mean by that. But back to this little doohickey. So we have the Centurion stowage bin sides. If you know how that goes, Centurion stowage bins, these are all welded on, etc. These are all welded on, but they are shaped to the base of the Centurion. Both are British, and they're kind of close, you know, but it doesn't quite fit. So there is that conversation. Let's see here. Got my bin of stuff. So what we're going to use is all the exhausts, the air cleaners. You know, do I run the air cleaners back here? You know, everything kind of works. Or do I pop? I think they're air cleaners. Pretty sure. These were the intakes on the Churchill on the side for that lovely old school Meteor. So I can run them there. I could run the Churchill's original air cleaners. I think it would be more Israeli to change all the exhausts, the air cleaners, the stowage bins. That's all the big changes. In the turret, dude, you can take all the up machine guns and all that stuff. So I think the Churchill's gonna look pretty cool with the 30 with the Brownings and the M2s, all that up on top of the turret. And then the big 90 mil barrel, this dude right here. So what I had done, so the deck fit fine after cut and mount. Those of you who do this kind of stuff, you know, as a kit bash, if all I have to do is just kind of fill that side, that's a nice fit between those two deals. I don't know how much fender I'm going to remove yet, because if you know my Churchills, you know I like the tracks exposed. If you know my tanks, I usually like skirts off the tanks personally as an aesthetic. Even Centurions, I prefer them skirt off. Merkavas, I prefer them skirt. I found a couple photos doing my research of Merc 1s and 2s with half skirts, one skirt, you know, Lebanon and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunity to really go to town. So that was that. And then on the front. So I tried to figure out, the front's probably the most complicated part of the Churchill in terms of like, what do you do with this? If I can get this guy off. But I felt, why don't I just take that? So there's on the kit, let me just show you here real quick. We'll get to the good stuff. If this isn't good stuff, I think it's good stuff. Where is the front armor bits here? So it was a no to modifying the suspension. It was a no to cutting and widening the Churchill up, because I don't think the Israelis would have done that. Putting a new engine, yes. Putting a new gun in, yes. And adding on armor where appropriate, yes. New sights, new filters, a lot of extra AP anti-personnel equipment, such as machine guns and heavier weapons of that nature, just like they did on all the other stuff, I think is a very good play. But also on this Centurion kit, you have that secondary, they have a secondary front armor plate, which all the Blazer armor mounts up onto. And it actually, when I looked at it, it was a little wide. Obviously, everything's wider on the Centurion. So just chopped it, just took some measurements, chopped it down, and then blue tacked it and figured, well, shit, I can probably weld that up. And then they might have done something like that. Might have been defendable because it turns it into kind of the front of the Centurion style, the angled front plate. I'll probably have to do probably just an all new driver's sight. And I do have, so in the kit bash conversation, there is the upper panel from the Centurion, which I could probably, remove this panel here and then probably put in this with the new hatch, Centurion hatch. That might have been an argument like that. Those kind of modifications, I think Israel probably goes, it's not a bad play. Because then the other thing that I did was, actually the first thing I did was, had to get the cupola up on the Churchill turret. So that's kind of the base of it, and that's where the saw comes out. So that's where so the Centurion kit comes with the top plate, and then you get, if you don't know how this goes, you've never built one of these guys. Centurion kits from AFE Club. The Churchill kit builds the same way. 2 turret halves that glue sideways, and then you put the top plate on, on top of that. The thing with the Centurion versus the Churchill is that they're swapped. The cupola, commander's cupola, is on the starboard side, and on the Churchill, it's on the port side. So I thought, well, shit, how am I going to do that? So I start cutting everything up. You start removing bits and pieces. You start trimming it down. You start, basically, you're dry fitting each cut you do, each major cut you do. And ultimately what happened was, just chopped the whole cupola off, cleaned it up, and then just glued it straight to the top of the turret there. This all comes apart. I'll get to the mantlet in a second. Oops, I just dropped all the hatches. They're not glued down. So what I did was I've opened that up, and everything's just kind of fit in there for now for painting and stuff. Leave everything loose. So this little guy. So basically, what happened was by putting the base top of the turret cupola mount onto the Churchill, which fits pretty good. It was only moved over maybe 2 millimeters closer to the loader's hatch a little bit. That's not too bad. That's probably very acceptable, to be truthful. And you can put this guy on, and that'll give you all your sights. This thing rotates, and then you've got the, commander's little hatch thing. Is it the Erdan? Not the Erdan. Well, it's whatever the Israelis call there, where the cupola, which is it's like a little hat. So the guy can kind of peek out, because that's, if you know IDF tank development, they were losing a lot of tank commanders, I think, in the 6-Day War. I think it was 67s. So in the 70s and the later wars, Lebanon and stuff like that, they redid their cupolas for better protection for the tank commanders. I did remount the sight that was in front of the cupola onto this. So I'm kind of slowly adding on the bits and pieces to the Churchill stuff to see how it goes. And then kind of figuring out the Tamiya parts a little bit. I left in the front gun connector. And then what I did was, if you can see this cut line, was I had to skinny up the Centurion mantlet, which I felt was kind of prudent. That panel on the Churchill comes out anyway. So if they cut that out and weld it, cut that torch weld, cut that out, and then put in Centurion fronts on that, I could buy that a little bit. And plus all the blazer armor fits up onto this. So that's all these bits and pieces here. These are all the turret blazer armor. So that should look pretty cool. This guy goes back together like so. Everything fits like so. So far, everything's going together swimmingly. Like, that actually looks fairly believable. And then what we're going to do is, let's take this little guy. I'm going to glue him on. And I think what I'll do is, I've got my Tamiya putty. Let's get to work and kind of reshape that kind of a la Super Sherman counterbalance a little bit. So that's kind of my thought. Everybody good? Y'all just listen to me bullshit? Okay. So what do we got? What did I miss? You're welcome, Jim. Yeah, a lot of guys just come in to bug me for the books. If you got a book question or order question, email me. I don't entertain that live, to be truthful, guys. It's too much bullshit for me to deal with. I know everybody's pissed. Like, it is what it is. We'll fix it though. All you pre-order customers will get plenty of love, and they're on sale too, by the way. The summer sale will continue until the announcement for sure. The coming announcement in a week and a half or so. So there is a summer sale on the books. If you in stock, there's 5 available. KINGART 1, 3, 4, and SM 2 and 3. All brilliant books, if I do say so myself. So do that. Please hit the like and consider subscribing if you like this kind of free nilly-willy content like this. So this starting point was so far I'm pretty happy with. Everything's fitting pretty good. Everything's going swimmingly. You can tell when you kit bash to this kind of idea if it's going to work or not. You know what I'm saying is you can get away with some stuff, and then sometimes when it doesn't work, you're like really kind of faking it to make it, and that doesn't work. But this, I think the combination of the British kind of core, you know, armor piece design in that parallel development idea, and then kind of what they did with their other semi, you know, they had the French AMX series that they were running. They had the Sherman series, obviously, which they did. And then obviously they splintered that off into various. And I think there's probably a conversation too of APC heavy variants down the road. So what I want to do, and I don't know if I'll get to it today, because that little handy cutter will be perfect for this. But what I probably will do along the sides is I would like to probably scratch build. I don't think these are readily available aftermarket anyway, and I don't think they would fit perfectly, but you know, they were doing this between all the variations of everything, of the various heavy side skirts of the APCs and stuff like that. I think it would fit quite well along the path of where we're going. Is if you look at this and where to go. If I do the air cleaners on the side, it's the wrong one. It's upside down. Hold on, where's the other one? Did I pull both out? I'll switch. There we go. I did. Okay. So if I do something along this lines, and I can cover this up and hide this stuff. And it was funny because I even saw this when I cut off the spare tracks. If you know this kit, I guess the mounts had broken and I had used aluminum tubing in there. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm cutting that off. I'm going, why is that so like, why is that not plastic? Anyway, the things we do, my friends. So anywho, I'm thinking, you know, you could run this type of bit on the side here. And if you look at that width, which is normal for Churchill, this is normal stuff. Project that forward to kind of, I do kind of like, so I cut off the fender last night because I'm going to expose a little track. You know, I have to. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out the back because to me it gets all one piece and it's not proper, but I might have to scratch build some stuff. But anywho, I'm thinking I could probably, if you look at this, see, this is where you start to really brainstorm. So if I'm looking at this, so you have your side escape hatch, right? If you build in two on the first one, kind of to the first break, the triangular front shape, and then a second one that shapes along that, and then at that hinge break, come in with your hinges on your side armor panels, and then do the next one, and then do the next one to the air up to the air cleaner, kind of an idea, or the intakes, whatever you want to call them, whatever it's going to be. So have that whole side up armored. I think it'd be pretty cool because I'm going to get to use all the heavy Centurion tow cables, all the little exhaust fittings and everything else is going to be pretty cool. Lastly, and then we'll get to work. So we have multiple versions of the Centurion fender stowage bins. A couple ways to go. And I could chop them up further because there are nice part lines. I could build up the back fenders or what I thought was maybe kind of like the Cromwell a little bit where there's a kind of smaller one on one side and longer ones on the other, and the Centurion follows that too. There's various places for these upper fender stowage bins. The other way to play this, that's kind of that idea. Put the air cleaners up with the exhaust out the back, and then move the stowage bins with some minor modifications to the side, incorporate them, and then the heavy front skirt on the front. Could do that. Because I'm also thinking maybe, whoops, if you guys can see that. It might be cool if I do that skirt that extends out and then run that common Israeli waved rubber lower skirt down low. That could look pretty cool, I think, in my head, all played out. So that's kind of the vision of this guy. And then all the little blazer goodies all over it, which will be kind of cool. Because those will all mount up onto the fronts up there. There is the upper. So I think I might have screwed up with the sight, putting the sight on too soon. I might have to take that part off. But there's all the upper turret. I can line all the upper parts up there. All the blazer armor that go on the front. You got multiple smoke discharger styles in the kit. You've got 3 or 4 styles. I think I know there's 2. So I've got the more modern style, the boxes. I don't know what they're called. That were pretty common on Israeli stuff later on. So we've got this kind of vertical stack box, smoke discharger in the front. All these bits and pieces will all be fitted up top. You even have a rubber mantlet I could probably chop it down and make it work over the front of that if I wanted to. And you even have the rubber, you even have the little rubber booty for the base of the barrel too, which I might play with and see how that goes. So and then the back, and then you also have the big stowage bin, which I can obviously cut and modify a little bit to fit around to give you, you know, I kind of want that modern tank Israeli, that really long back end stowage box across the rear. I think that would look really cool on this tank because it exposes that, it enhances that length of the vehicle in terms of the visuals. Okay, we all caught up. Kyle Williams just getting in. Well, welcome, sir. Good to see you. Put that back. This guy. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, they're kind of well, it's mostly a length. It's actually mostly a width. You could just basically plop this Churchill turret inside of it. Probably won't use. I was trying to debate, like, am I going to get a Centurion kit out of this project? I'm going to get a chassis, not much else, because I've already cut up one engine deck, so I'm probably going to have to go to you're probably getting an old engine deck. There might be something there for some future thingy. You know, I don't know if it's good. I've never seen the kits, the Amusing Hobbies, but they have some late version prototypes of Centurion kind of crazies, the big heavy gun stuff, the 187 or whatever that thing was. They have something. Maybe I kitbash that. Maybe the Amazon. I don't know. There's stuff to do. There's always another project down the road. Okay, are we good? Did I get everybody? Not really in the social. Who's not in the social media? Don't even. You're in social media. You're on social media now. Okay, what did I miss? We're modified for HU. Yeah, so they would, if they're going to swap suspensions and you're swapping suspension between types, there's no point in me putting Centurion suspension on a Churchill. That doesn't make much sense to the type of construction it is, if that makes sense. So thinking, you know, swapping Sherman suspension is easy, and also understanding the development was that hit its limit on weight and strength and mobility and power and all that stuff. The development stops. They shift their entire situation over to Centurions, which leads into Merkava development on the suspension and all the heavy AP. So they actually stop. So it doesn't make sense for me to come in and say, well, at that point in time, you might as well just call it a Centurion. You know what I'm saying? Like I want this to look like a Churchill. So it doesn't make sense for me, if that's kind of your conversation there, is I'm not going to throw on another tank suspension onto the Churchill, because it didn't have other versions of itself. It was just, it's just the Churchill. Even the black prints basically look the same in terms of its technique. But what else we got? If you're going to grab it, Jim Altergot, grab them now because they're on sale, brother. Did I miss any other questions? Robert's books are great. Yep. No, I'm well aware of it. I have some of his stuff. All my heavy armor, literally and figuratively, is all still in storage. When I moved, I only pulled over the aircraft stuff because that was the first videos I was doing. So I just have my P38 and P61 reference books behind me. I don't have any of my, I have German desert armor stuff, but I don't have any of my Israeli books with me. I forget what box they're into. You know, when you move, you're like, shit, what'd I do with that? Checking it from Chicago, #2 pencil spiral. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to work here. Let's actually do a little bit of not painting first. We'll go into that. I'm excited about this. This will be pretty fun. It'll go pretty fast too, because I spent, you know, better part of the evening, you know, modifying the turret, make sure that all worked. Because if this didn't work, like if I couldn't get the turret gun conversation to work, this is gonna be a dead end project, and I wouldn't have previewed it or posted it, and I probably would have just shelved the Centurion, the Churchill, and just moved on. But it works. It works. Let's see what this. Do we look at the instructions? Okay, so this feller, I'm guessing this dude, does that go in there? No, wait, hold on. It does, I think. Hold on. I was close. It goes in the front of the. Oh, I see. So this is the mount at the mantlet, and this little jimmy rig here fits into there, and then that's. Hold on. Come on, camera. Do it. There you go. I think this barrel's actually look pretty sweet. So if you like Churchills like I do, oh, look at that bad boy. Swiss screw machine, boys. That's what our Polish and Czech friends are really, really good at. God, that's like a watch gear. That just, dude, you get what you pay for. Yeah, Aber price. That's not all the way in, but I would leave it like that. So I think this dude, I'll have to drill out that guy to mount that up, and I'll probably adjust this a little bit. I don't want it to be quite so long, but I think that 90. So if you know Churchill's in the 75s, the quick fire 75, which is that 6-pounder, I believe, so on and so forth. I think, and that's the MG mount right there. I think that's a good size for this tank, and a little bit of a punch, a little bit of an upgrade, if you know what I mean. That's a stout gun. That's the M47, 90 mil, and I like the European. I always wanted to do a Spanish M47 in just that straight up OD old school, which I think turned into film. They used that and ended up in movies later on. That's kind of a cool look. I think that'll look pretty nice, especially as we build all this out in the backside. So that was the gun development for your Super Churchill. Let's see. Do I miss anybody? Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, the stupid's to us. That's what that was. We're the stupid ones. Yeah. That's a good idea, Pat. Yeah. That little 134, so the T-34 122 is Syrian. So, and that's a bit more of a, if you look at the surrounding Middle East countries outside of Jordan, development is very hodgepodge, which is cool because it's very creative. But Israel had a function, and they had a focus, and they were politically driven, by the times, by the way the other governments treated them. If you study this part of their history, to me, it's one of the more fascinating developments of military development equipment, because it leads to Israel's own industrial complex of building their own stuff. Because it's kind of like what I'm doing. I've had enough of the bullshit. I'm gonna go do it myself. That's kind of what happens in that conversation. Okay. All right, boys. Let's do it. Let's hit it. Give it the eyeballs. Okay, this guy can come out. Probably take him off altogether. Okay. Use your shit nippers for this. The thing you find with these old kits is they're old and brittle, easy to work with. I guess I should put this. See, I don't do this stuff on camera very much. Just gonna flatten that up. Sand it on camera. That's why I don't do it very often. Carbon fiber tools, Galaxy tools on eBay, super nice. It's not a 600, it's a 240. Only I know that though. I do that so when you come over and work at my bench, you're like, wait, why is this 600 and I fuck up your model? No, I wouldn't do that. Maybe to Christian I would, but not the rest of you. Actually, let's scuff up the rest of this a little bit. Give us a little bit of tooth. All that beautiful paint work. Nobody cares. Let's do this too. Because these have to come off anyway. If you're doing a Churchill, I even think the FE Club kit is the same. You have to make your own, rite of passage, Centurions, at least the loop tie downs, Stewarts, Shermans. It's a rite of passage. You have to do it. We do not accept lesser quality. Especially with all the kids on social media now, you guys got to up your game. Yeah, I'm just getting these off because we're going to mount stuff on the side later. So I don't think, basically what I was trying to say earlier is I don't think, for example, even though this would have been a weaker armored vehicle, all those Churchills do have solid armor. They're pretty well known for being tough tanks. I think at the front of the tank, it was the heaviest. It was close to a Tiger, if not heavier than a Tiger in the front. Or thicker steel. I think 110. Is that 110? That's right. Sounds right. I think the Tigers had 100, and I think the Churchill had 100. And Tiger 1, the E's had 100. Am I right, boys? Google that. I should stay on camera. What was I going to say? Yeah. So no, I don't think Israel would up armor a Churchill too much. There's your chipping demo right there. Paint a shit ton of paint and then sand it off. So I think I want to do. I re-glued this guy last night. I think what I'm actually going to do is I've got one of my circle cutters. I want to lift this up a little bit. I do think it sits a little too low. No, it sits really flush. Maybe a slight raising. I don't know. Let's see. I just using the Mark 1. Okay. That's probably ready to go. Let's do this dude. Let's get this guy off. Anybody want some fire extinguishers? There you go. Give me another one. I don't need the space in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stowage bin as my building structure to putty around and make a counterweight. That's why I'm using this. It's just a lot easier than me scratch building. I mean, it could. I'm just not. Sometimes you gotta be a lazy mofo. That's right. This ain't my best work. This paint job. It's okay. I think the only good thing of this model that'll be a little bit sad was back in the day, that was pretty fun to do that pigment work. And then I want to cut that fender. Maybe I cut that fender off. Oh, by the way, if you are wondering, let me cut this guy out. Hold on. I think this is an early fender. I know there's multiple fenders in this kit. This has like 10 more sprues than you need. You know, you gotta love the spares, but it's literally like half a kit when you're done of stuff. Still know this guy too. I don't know if I'll go this route, but it is an option. So this is the Centurion fender. Lo and behold, it's almost the same exact width as the Churchill fender. So there's an option for that. If I do remove some of these, and what I'm saying that is because I like that paint work and maybe send it to the patron. I don't know, we'll see. I may not though. Hello, Wayne Beatty. How are you, brother? Spanish 47 is acting like pandas. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about those movies the other day. Those old. I was trying to think of the actor. He's in Jaws. He's the one that he's the boat captain. Robert. Damn it! Every time it's not Robert Conrad. I always want to say Robert Conrad, who was Pappy Boyington in the Black Sheep TV show and other stuff. It's not him, but he plays I think he plays the German tank commander in I think it's Battle of the Bulge, and also I think he plays against Patton in George C. Scott's, or George, is it George? Yeah, it's the Patton movie. He plays the German. I don't know if he's playing Rommel or not. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movies in a long time. Robert Sho't. Thank you, Jim. Every time, man, I just, it's Robert Smith. No, that's the Cure. I'm fun to take out and get drunk, though. There's a lot of those conversations, by the way. Okay. So again, just kind of tightening things up a little bit. Hold on one second. Probably doesn't matter. But let's be somewhat. Just don't want to have any. That's fine. Okay. That's all fine. Okay. Always that slight little. So I'm deciding now. So the back half of the Churchill is flush. Because I just need it to be a shape. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Where's my little sander, dude? Yeah, so if you don't know what these things are, these have the sticky back sandpapers, the sheets, and they fit to these forms really nice. And then if you're really clever, because I'm not, I didn't do this. MadWorks or other companies, there are other companies out there that make a bunch of these. So the red's 400, the blue's 600, and what you do is you double side tape them back to back, and now you got a little stiffy, and you got two sandpapers in one. Dude, is genius. These are money. These are the little sponge sanding sticks. So this is, I think, 1,000 and a 1,500, same thing. And that double thing gives you a little extra stiffness to it. They're great because they're a little floppy when they're by themselves, but it's watching the MadWorks YouTube thing, just a little sidebar, little thing. Oh, and speaking of God Hand, because I had to have these, I just love these little dudes, and they're actually really nice. God Hand makes a lot of these little mini sanders, and these are like little, same thing. They're all pre-cut. They're super cheap. A bag of 10 for like $7. Money, little things are great. Pick those up. Such a hoe, such a hobby hoe. Okay, what we're doing? Upside down. Okay, cool. There we go. So what I want is a little bit just below the edge of that top of that plate of the shape. Get a little juice love back here. I just need it to hold itself, you know. And this will dry solid while we mix up some putty. Okay. Yeah, so I think aesthetically, what I'm trying to do is keep that horizontal element across the back. I know there's slight angles and adjustments on the bins. A lot of the Centurion stuff, the Churchill's a vertical side turret, and the Centurion must have a slight taper, if you will, because none of the side bins fit flush, so they all sit droopy, like little droop ears. I'm like, that doesn't look good. So I'll probably have to make side bins, because again, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So this will do, they go this way. So if you put them on, so see how the bottom slope down, which what I'd really want was something more like that. I don't know if it's enough to play with the mold on this, but I think there's some arguments that I could do some stuff with the bins, at least two of them, because obviously added stowage is a big deal to the IDF and stuff like that. So yeah, that could kind of work. Okay, so let that kind of set up. And then this feller, so you get a little putty action. Not David putty, Tamiya putty. Where's my boy to it? We missed two hands. Doing these late time shows at 5 o'clock New York time. Our boy Jeff. Ooh, do I have much left? Ooh, I don't think I have a lot left. Okay. I'm going to use most of this up. Get these little coaster cutting mats. See, there's your northwest shoreline right there. I probably got this when I got the cutter. I don't know if it comes in the set, but I use it as a coaster. Then it turns into a tarp making dude on the back end. And we'll do some OPR later. Where are we at? An hour? Yeah, we're fine. We're good. Get your little baby powder down there. Smooth as a baby's butt. Actually, let me put that back up there. Don't lose that stuff. All right. I miss any questions? Yeah, to your ace. Okay, see you later. Yeah, you guys can always watch this back later too. There'll be multiple things. And if you're unfamiliar, what I do is after the show the following day, is I watch it back just to make sure I didn't screw up. I usually do. Or if there's any spam or anything, or sometimes also, by the way, if you curse in YouTube, it won't post it. You might be wondering why if you say like the S word or shit or whatever, or the S word. it won't post it because they have blockers. And what I do is I have to go back and uncheck all that. But I'm on StreamYard, so I don't see it. So I'd only see it when I watch it back, when I watch YouTube back the next day. But what I'm talking about is I'm going to go through and do the timestamps for you guys. So you can scrub. You can come in tomorrow or the next day or whatever, and you can scrub to the OPR to this part here where I'm playing with. This is going to hurt. This is like stiff noodles. Yeah, the chopper is the one tool that we all had and we never used. So anyway, I think this a Super Churchill with kind of heavy side skirts, the 90 mil gun, so on and so forth. Yeah, this is this. Hold on, this is gonna be a wrist workout here. You guys are gonna be like, what's he doing? I'll put that there so you can look at that. You're like, what's on camera? Nothing. Pick up the kid from daycare. You got it. Yeah, so that's usually what I do the following. So all the YouTube videos, there's like 72, whatever it is now. And even some of the Patreon ones, the longer ones I will. I'll go in and put the time champ. They're in blue in the description down below. All the tools. I'll probably add the God hand cutter. I don't know what it's called. It's all in kanji. I can't read it. Oh yeah, this is a bit much. Plus mine's getting probably a little bit old too. Where's Sal? Sal's probably sleeping still. Yeah, but we're gonna return to a more regular schedule for the fall and stuff like that too. Get back to work. Yep. See you later, Arnell. Catch the rest later tonight. Good morning, afternoon. See you later, bud. Yeah. Hold on. This might take a minute. I'm committed now. I can't not do this, right? Otherwise, I'm wasting half a box of Tamiya putty. So we're gonna go through 160 mil. Yeah, what was that? Not the Carnivon. It's not the Conqueror. It's not there. Well, did they actually name that one? It's the FV. Well, I know there's an FV number. I thought it was 180 mil. Wasn't that a 180 mil gun? It's a massive turret. That's a really super tall, boxy turret. And I think it was killed because the ammunition was too big. They couldn't handle it and or store it. The gun was fine. I don't think there was a problem with the gun. And I think it did its job of long range combat. But I think the Conqueror was plenty. Conqueror is big too. I've seen the Conqueror in Brashat in Belgium. They have a Conqueror there. Mostly together Conqueror. It's kind of a range queen of sorts, but yeah. Hold on, I'm just mixing putty. Just got to twist this, and it's a hand workout. It's getting there though. Kind of like popcorn. It's getting there. Yeah, I don't know what I would do with the leftover bins of all this kind of. I mean, I've got a nice chassis. I mean, I could probably. Oh, maybe there's a resin conversion somewhere. Maybe I could get the APC version out of this guy or something. I don't know. But once you lose that engine deck, once you lose the last modern diesel engine deck, you kind of stuck. I don't know what I do. Maybe I can 3D print one of those prototype turrets. Maybe like not the big one. The British did a bunch of prototype turrets of those. What are I don't know what they're called, but if there's a name for them, but they're the kind of the crewless turrets up top, where they're the really thin, lean. I think the Falcon was kind of the modern version of that on a Challenger chassis, where it's just kind of the main. The Striker APC has it on that version too. That style of weapon. That could be something. In early development, because you have so this gun in this kit is the naked L7, so it doesn't have the thermal sleeve, and I don't think the thermal sleeve's in this kit either, like as an option. I'm pretty sure it's not, because this is just before them. Okay, we're almost there. It's getting all hot. You guys you're like, what's he doing? I'm molding putty, or I'm mixing putty. Okay, I think we're pretty good. Is that on there pretty good? Yep, that's on there pretty good. Okay. I probably did waste this bit, but we'll see. I do have some water just in case. Usually talc powder is good though. What I don't want to do is I don't want to lose this. This will probably be good enough for. I'm hoping that's enough of a tool I need. It's a little Tamiya stir stick. This will definitely add some weight, like legit weight, both visual weight and physical weight. Jeff Longman, hello, buddy. How are you, man? So I will say now that Jeff's in chat, Nog's here. I don't know if Tristan will roll. I don't think Tristan's around. I know Dan probably is not here either. And some of you other ones, I mean, I know you're all familiar. So I'm getting really close to the 3D printer conversation. Amazon dropped their prices on, I think, the Frozen 8K, the mini one's 500 now, which is obtainable. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to go that way because I was really studying the Anycubics D2 up close, you know, really watching what it does. And I think for what we do, given that, you know, at least RSP side of life, we're painters, and I would do this for personal work versus not for production or anything like that. Because I think the Frozen 8K gives a better output in terms of resolution for painting. Yeah, this is gonna look sick. You're all gonna be building Super Churchills. Mofos better give me credit. So I'm getting close, and this will probably mean I'm gonna have to get my wares up on 3D software again because that's been a minute. I know Nog, we've talked about that, and I know Jeff, we've talked about that too a little bit. Jeff's the one who presented me with the Zaku 35th scale foot, and he did all the printing in that. So you guys are obviously intimate, and there's advantages and disadvantages. I probably don't have any intention to do kind of what you're doing, Jeff, in terms of scale size, in terms of what Loot Box does. I'd really like to keep it to manageable stuff. You guys are crazy. You guys are a little insane. So that was what I just read. Here's my thought, Jeff, on that was buy into get the 8K now, because at 500, that's even if it goes on sale even more, that's a good price, and it outputs, I could use it. The 4Ks, I was like, well, okay. But then guys are like, well, wait till the next DLPs, not the D2s, but wait till next gen. I'm like, well, let me get started now with that. And then if that DLP comes out and it's what we hope it to be, then maybe I could, you know, get it included and or swap out. Because what I don't want to do, unlike computers and cameras, is I don't want to get in the rotation of it too much. You know, I think what I'm seeing 8K wise is good enough at times. You know, if I look at Alex Clark, and this is what I'm talking about. It's kind of like if you know who Alex Clark is in 72nd, 144th scale, what he's doing with the Frozen 8K, because he just got his, you know, and he's moving it pretty good along. But I don't think 500 is that bad of a price. I mean, Christmas is coming up and stuff like that, you know, that whole conversation. So, okay, I'm slowly building up the counterweight shape a little bit. So if you just think the back of the M51 and M50s in your head, guys, you know, that kind of, that look. I think what we'll do is get this up on here. Get up on there. Am I still straight and true? Yep. Bigger's back. That's what she said. All the Canadians are like that, aren't you? Hey? No, it's good. But I do have, so my Patreon boys, you're familiar with I think I've shared, to my left is kind of a hallway. Here. Can I do that? Is that allowed? There you go. Sleeping quarters. Focus. Okay. Down there's a cubby to the right. Behind that, there's a chair. And then my little gunpla shelf, and then to the right, there's like a workstation cubby area, like storage area. Perfect for printers and Probably a Cricut cutter, you know, for making stencils and stuff. That's what I kind of want. I feel like I'm ready to kind of bite the bullet and get a lot of that stuff. Seeing what some of you guys have and what you're doing with it, I'm like, yeah, I should probably start, because I'm good with Illustrator. I'm fine with 3D software and stuff. I just been lazy with it. Still. Take off, eh? I love it. Yeah. So anyway, I was thinking about that while I mold this up, while we get this kind of physical, laborious labor out of the way. Sculpting 101. I tell you though, Tamiya stuff's great. This is definitely compared to. I mean, I don't want to throw green stuff under the under the bus, but so one of my boys told me the green stuff's the green and yellow one that the blue and yellow that turns green when you mix it together, and that they're packaged. I think what they mean by the packaging, is that the joints of those two start to react to each other. They're side by side. So you get these weird hard bits in there that have already pre-hardened because the chemicals have reacted to each other. So the Tamiya one's stacked on top of each other with multiple layers. You saw me take all the plastic off. So the green stuff, they've started to repackage their stuff to prevent that. So if you have it for a while, like mine was a little bit older, I can tell, and it was, I get these little nuggets of hard epoxy in there. So, yeah. So I'm just trying to slowly build up. I'm leaving myself a little bit of sandable. It's not too bad to work with. It's not like fighting me at all. You know, sometimes when Putty fights, he gets all over the place. Hello, Bernardo. Hello from Brazil, or to Brazil, from Portland to Brazil. You're Brazil, right, Bernardo? Not Argentina? Unless I screwed. No, you are Argentina. My bad. Close. Terrible. But I'm well. I hope you're doing well too. You're living in your work area. You need to find a resin that you can live. So that, yeah. So I did study some of the eco resins, and I was kind of reading comments on that. I sprayed. So to the jig conversation, sidebar, segue. So I did order my octopus from Lebanon, from Mohammed. He sent it to me. I got off of eBay because he's back in production now. The octopus model jig, the one that Night Shift uses in his videos. And I've been studying the jig conversation a little bit. I'm not 100% convinced it'll work totally for what I'm doing all the time, because I like to work low. You know, it does raise it up. I have it. So mine was actually, the base wasn't properly glued, and it came apart upon arrival. So he sent me another base. But where I'm going with that, it was I went to the hardware store to buy some hardware for it to fix it, and picked up some spray cans to spray, because I think I'm going to custom paint my octopus. There's nobody woke up today thinking that statement was going to come out of anybody's mouth on planet Earth. It just sounded funny when I said that. I'm going to custom paint my octopus. So F you. Right. So yeah, just kind of, I'm actually using the camera as a guide. Do I pull it to the break there, or do I? So what I'm kind of thinking is maybe a break, and then maybe weld. I'm sorry. It does add a lot of weight. It does change the balance of said turret. So thinking maybe if I, so do I pull it all the way up to the form there? Well, I did here. I did hear that Archers is going out. Woody's done. I just imagine Woody's had it. I'm probably too late to grab some of those bits from him, but I do have some of his weld 3D. So I'm hoping, to Jeff and all that conversation, is that will solve some of that. bit, if you will, for at least moving forward. I think it's it's obviously the future. It is the future. I think it'd be stupid to bypass it. It's stupid to wait much longer. Yeah. So thank you, yeah, Robert. So anyway, I went to the hardware store, bought some new knobs, fixtures for my octopus. I think I'm going to customize and custom paint it, but I bought some graffiti paint because that's what they sell there in terms of aerosol. And I to Jeff, your odor comment there was, yeah, I did one little spritz in the apartment, dude. It was nuts. It was like, what is this? It was like the death spray. So I was spraying in the garage downstairs, and then I brought up and I missed the spot. So I went, no, don't do that. So I don't know. I don't know if those eco resins that are quote unquote less smelly, what they were saying, at least from review wise, was some of those eco resins were, it smells like Brussels sprouts or broccoli in the house, which is not the best smell, but I don't know what the regular full smell is when they're full smell. However, there is 9 windows that line the back of me. You get there's 3 groups of 3 windows, or this is a big 2 and then 3 and 3. So it's technically 8, but they're the same width. That whole corner's got 3 huge windows to ventilate out on. So we'll see. But I figured the only way to really do it is just to bite the bullet and do it. I mean, everybody else is doing it at home. So we'll see. We'll see. But I don't think I have much choice to really trying to get that undercut. And leaving enough to sand. That little undercut that way. I almost want to, what I'll do is I'll let that solidify and I'll sand that flush, and I might do a weld counterweight where I do some plot plate or do some styrene cut form and one additional, maybe there's like a slight adjustment weight that sometimes you'll have that second counterweight added on the back, that look. Well, this is similar to, your M10s, your Achilles, all that kind of fun stuff too. Just want to make sure I have enough material so when I sand, I don't have too many low spots. So I'm kind of overbuilding, overpacking it a little bit. Yeah, when I was on Amazon, I don't know why it came through, but the price, because I think it's $100 off. I think $499 for the Frozen Mini 4K. It's not bad. I mean, I thought it was $700. That's what I thought. That's what I'm like, that's a bit much. Because when you get the resin and everything else, it's like $800-900 US. But at $499 entry, that's to be considered sooner than later, right? What's up, Jim? What do you got? Who were you modeling influencers here that got you into scale modeling? Mine was chef painter Francois Verlinden. Same. Most of us were the same back in the day. My dad. So my parents were divorced in the 70s. I was one of the first latchkey kids, and when I'd visit him, we would spend a lot of our father-son time scale modeling monogram kits, Century series. He was in the Air Force, and so we loved, 104s, 105s, 101s, even and then early Phantoms, B's and C's. And so we did a lot of that. That was my ute. And then I think he gifted me my first the two books from Shep Payne. And then after that, I discovered Verlinden on my own, so to speak. And that's the Gribbly. He's the king of the original. He's the original OG king of Gribbly. And that's then, of course, the Star Wars and the Millennium Falcon came out, and movie Gribblies and props, came into being. So that was always a big influence too. Film was a big influence. Okay, we got something going here, boys. That actually worked out pretty good. Kind of slightly overbuilt to sand that back down. And I think what I'll do is I'll do that 2 parts. Yeah, I think you're smarter to keep those kind of sort of close together. Hold on. and we'll do some painting here in a sec. That didn't take that long. It took a half hour to do that. Just kind of what I'm trying to do is kind of just eyeball that across. So I think on a counterweight, if I don't want to go too far down this other side with extra cast on texture, so I think it's fine if I cut a little short. It fits the bend on that one nicely, and it's a little bit shy on the other ones. And then that getting this on will allow me to resolve the other part of this British style conversation, is to do something like kind of like that. So I'll either modify this kit part for the side for kind of the Centurion stowage bin to either cut up one of the other ones to bring it over, and then cut up the other one to kind of go over here, something like that. So it kind of looked like a mini Centurion turret a little bit, somewhat, but not like a 105. What's up, Corey? Hello, man. How are you? I've never been to any term. Let me make it the book times 2. What are we talking about? And then in the modern era, Jim, would be the Missing Links website. Those were big influences. You know, those guys. Yeah. Yeah, that actually makes that cupola not look quite so silly. So there's that conversation. Oops, stay on there. And leaving this all loose for now is probably the smart play. So what I will do then from here is, let's see what we got. I haven't really looked at this part of the deal. Those drawings don't help at all. So I think what we'll be doing here is, so to that conversation, so the reason obviously you have the shell ejection port here, which they never, see that's what I'm saying with the Israeli tank, all this is add-on. They didn't, like even that stuff, they didn't really like modify that ejection port. It was probably useful either for ventilation or just shell ejection. But so we've got these guys, and then there's the big one on the other. There's the long one on the other side. But this guy, this rear rack thingy here, and I think because the shapes are opposite, so this guy's going this way, and then on this do-rad goes kind of the other way. I might flip that. I might have to invert that. We'll see. Maybe it comes out this way. It's gonna look cool. I think it'll look pretty sweet. I'm just like surprised nobody's done this yet. There probably is somebody who's tried this, but yeah. So anywho, that's round 1. That kind of went up there pretty nice. Oh, it's already. Well, let's do some OPR, and then maybe we'll do some sanding and grinding later. Sorry, I can't. That is no. Do I need this I do need this. I'm gonna need this, and I'm gotta bin that too. Damn it. Have any reason for it to keep it? Can I use? No. Okay. The sacrifices I make for entertaining you guys on a Wednesday afternoon. What else did I miss? Oh, I see, Corey. Let me go back up. Let me scroll back up a little bit. Buenos Aires. Yep. Yeah, no, I know. That was somebody else is from Brazil, Bernardo. I always get you two confused. But yeah, so that's the 3D conversation. You should definitely get one, Mike. Yeah, take some of that Patreon money, and it would be an investment back to itself. Probably write it off at the end. Oh yeah, no, everything's a write-off. That is actually literally true, because I run my company as a sole proprietorship, not an LLC. So everything is technically a write-off. Yeah, so I got my octopus. A couple parts came in a little damaged from the shipment because it's Lebanon to Portland. That's a long route. Mohammed's a good, solid guy. Quickly said, nope, no worries. Sending me a new lower base part. He'll send that in. But I think what we're going to do, and I don't know if I'll do it on camera on stream, but we're going to do a custom octopus. I've got all planned out in my head. I've got the paints. So I'm going to use industrial strength spray paint. You know, that's what I meant by saying that earlier in terms of like the resin smells for the 3D printer, and then using it's the Spanish MTN, the 94, the graffiti paint. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yep. So I think that'll be fun. Jim, I have no idea Churchill were employed. No, Jim, Alter God. This is a what if. This is me make believe. They did not. In fact, I don't think they ever used Churchills. The Churchill only, besides Korea, I think Jordan had some, right? Post-war? Mark 8s. I think I'm correct in that. Is it Jordan? I think Jordan was the only one that ran that besides Britain, was the only one that ran Churchill's past World War II. So the answer is no, Jim. Anybody need some putty? I don't have anything else to use this for. Damn it. Yeah. All right. Remind me, I got to buy some more. That just chaps my. I don't like to waste stuff like that. That was just poor management on my part. I don't do big sculpts like that too much. Okay. Put you back over there. Okay. Oh, we can talk some oils though. There's some new oils. New oils in town, my friends. We have some new oil paints in town. Got this stuff all over it. Okay. Everybody else good? Did I miss any other questions? Make sandbags, yeah. I would if the Israelis didn't use much sandbags, did they? There's maybe a few. No, but you need to make the sandbags in the moment. And you got to put them on. Yeah. Can I roll out a tarp? I'll do. Actually, I'm gonna make some tarps. Hold on. I can probably bang those out pretty quick. Gas was like 28 cents a gallon in Lebanon. Really? That's absurdly low. I would think it's $28 a gallon over there. Yeah, if I could write a book about my trials and tribulations. What Corey's having a whole. Corey pops in. He has a whole conversation. I missed most of it. Hold on, Corey. My bad. What it went? Well, I went to Springfield for a wedding. Could have went to jail. Shocking how people are. What? Okay, here we go. Corey's had a moment. In and out. Catch up. No, you're good. Good Labor Day. Yep, we had a good Labor. It's chill. Labor Day was chill. We didn't do anything. Nero, hello, Nero. Here to say hello and wish you the best. Catch a video later. Greetings from Italy. Thank you, sir. I want to go back to jail. Nobody wants to go to jail. Yeah. Gold Series Red advertises odor free. Okay, Matter Hackers. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll definitely. So Nog and Jeff and you guys, and there's a couple more of you that I've got in Patreon that are very familiar with that world. Yeah, we'll have some conversation. We'll probably have a bigger conversation on Patreon as well. It won't be for a minute, but I think it'll be before the holidays. Rolling out my pizza dough. And if you don't know, this stuff's really easy to work with. It should suit most of your tasks pretty nicely. And you can see I've got one little bumpy in there. That's okay. I think I can probably squish that and maybe blend it up a little bit. Yeah, the green stuff I have, when I do this part, it has all these little bumps and nubbies in it, and you see it when it's finally done. So it's tough to use it for production work. So I have to buy new green stuff. It works pretty well. I like green stuff. Don't get me wrong. I do think it's a good product. It's just the one they have that problem where. So I think what they sell is the Gap. That's what I was thinking of in my head. I just remembered. It's called the Gap version of the green stuff, and it separates the yellow and the blue parts more permanently so that they don't touch and interact chemically in the package. So that's what that's all from. So I learned something new from one of my Patreon boys. We're going to do some tarps. Everybody else good? Did I miss any other questions though? While I'm doing labor. Train work soon? Probably not. Probably not for a while because there's quite a few big projects going on. I don't have any new rail stock. And I mean, I've got a couple of Brin pieces in N scale that I should do a little something. I need to loop back around the trains and kind of redo what I want to do with it. I have a lot more references for trains than I do actual train stuff. So Not that I don't want to, it's just I have a lot on my plate. So it'll probably be a little bit of a sacrificial lamb for a minute. And you can thank Jeff for that one, because that big Zaku foot diorama is going to take up a lot of time, and I don't want it to linger too much in between. Stuff like that, you want to keep your mojo going quite a bit. And I've got my RSO with my little repair robot pretty far along, so it's encouraging. And the foot with all the gribblies in it is probably close to getting ready for paint. So, but then there's other projects. This one for armor, because we have 2 armor ones go away. But for civilian, I do have a die cast going, so it's kind of the same thing. So that was a gift, or for my use to use for you guys. So I should get on that. It is on that, but it is in terms of train. So maybe a couple months, Corey. Oh, maybe a new train. Yeah. Not a perfect square. It usually doesn't have to be, though. Geez, even with the brand new blade, it still kind of pulls it along. But I need my big long number 11s. That's probably good enough. Good enough for government work. Yeah, I didn't plan that. Well, we made way too much, but maybe for a future painting demo. I do got to be careful that doesn't stick together. Although that's the hinge of the thing. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Dumb shit. Let's see. Keep it simple, stupid. Here is this guy. Don't do what I do. Flip back the other way. And kind of squish that in there, kind of like it was jammed in there. That'll work okay. Just get it off the hatch hinges there. Well, that kind of worked out better. Happy accidents. Bob Ross in that right there. Yeah, this stuff's real. Oh, I got a fingerprint in there. Stuff's nice to work with. And I think you just get better results with handmade, especially this stuff. Oftentimes what I like to do is get the resin goodies and then use it as an underlay, and then kind of half expose it and half put on a new tarp. You can kind of custom your resin up aftermarket stuff quite easily that way, very effectively, and it kind of gives it originality, shows it a little bit more original. What I don't want is, I think this, that's dried enough. That won't stick. I can pull that off. I don't want the new tarp to stick to the old or to the previous one. Can you paint epoxy? But yeah, we will. Not today, but yeah. Yeah. So when this dries, it's just like plastic part or resin part. You just prime it and paint it and go. Yeah. There's go Bills. Yeah, I'm not a Rams fan. I would say realistically, what were we talking about? Painting this stuff? Oh yeah, no, it's just like resin when it's dried. You just 3D printed resin, all that stuff. Scratch built. It's all good. That dries. It's impervious to everything. It's strong, fairly strong. It's brittle, but it'll snap and break. But if I give you a train, you work on this train. No, don't be you guys. I love you guys for giving me. I have some stuff. I know Craig Cole sent me. I still have some hoppers. I do have a couple hoppers that I can work on. I don't have any. I have some 64th. I mean, 1/164th end scale, end gauge. I have a couple. I have an old steam engine. I have a couple pieces I could play with. I don't have any new engines to do for like a hardcore project. It's not going to matter, Pat. It's time. I don't have the time right now to add on a train to what we're doing for the next couple months. That's what I meant by that. So it's not that I'm lacking the stuff. It's real. I mean, not that I'm excited about a hopper, but you can rust the shit out of it. It'd be a fun repaint, and I could probably do something pretty quick, but it's not a huge priority right now. I'm trying to think. So you've got the Tempest and the P61 in rotation right now in aircraft. You've got Mecca's got 3 or 4 small projects and one big one going on in rotation right now. You've got the big foot dial with the RSO as the background. You've got this one for armor, and I have a die cast for right now. I think that's obviously plenty. And then for Patreon, I can say Patreon and everything else too. Patreon, you will get the E100s coming, the rebuild on that, which is kind of like this idea. Old kit of mine. I've got the OG E100B, the original. That's kind of pretty much ready for full rebuild. It's got new tracks. It's got full model tracks for it. It's been stripped down on completely all the paint jobs. Had multiple paint jobs. So that one's pretty much ready to launch as an armor project. And I think that'll be a Patreon exclusive. I think I've already pitched that out. Let's see what else. And the Sotheby SM03. So weapons, backpack, and shield for Sotheby, and some touch-up detail work on that for that guy on the SM03. That's the long one. So for now, that's plenty. I think that's a solid rotation for the next, probably through the end of this year. And what I'll do is I'll probably pick up a whole new train project for next year, realistically. We'll see. Maybe I dabble a little bit. Some other stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's mostly time for me. You're fine, Jim. No, it's okay. Ask the questions, guys. Yeah, if you have questions, dude, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Say hello. You can buy the green stuff in separate rolls. It was such a problem, they just literally sell it separately now. Is Iraqis at Churchill's? Okay. I'm pretty sure I thought Jordan was the user of the Churchill, to be honest with you, though. I didn't think Iraq had Churchills. They had Chieftains. I don't know if they had Churchills, though. Yeah, this stuff is green stuff's pretty sticky. You have to use the talc. You have to get your baby butt smooth stuff down. Definitely, this is a must-have when you're rolling stuff for sure. And if you're hand working it like this, just a little water's fine. Just wet your digits. It's a little sticky, a little bit. Yeah, I'm excited. Tomorrow night. Joe says he's not versed in post-war armor. Shame on you, Joe. Tequila shot, bro. But the IDF shot gals were, almost all that stuff was Centurion based. APCs, all the heavy APCs. There's the couple T55 variants. There's a few Sherman specialty variants. But the bulk of what they did prior to the Merkaba coming on as the main battle tank were Centurion chassis based stuff, which is really cool. It's fascinating. So Jim, you asked as an influence, my first tickle of armor, like why I really got into it, was Squadron in Action, the Centurion book with the yellow. It's fairly yellow in terms of the painting. I think it's a Jim Greer paint job or cover painting of the Centurion in Action book, which is an Israeli Ben Gurion, the original OG 105. That was kind of that cover of that book is, we all have those books. You're like that's the connection. That was one book that really got me into this. I loved it. I was like, oh wow, fascinating. Really good book too. Those Squadron in Action books are for the price you pay for them are still full of really good technical data in terms of, you need to learn stuff about machines. It's a good place to start for that stuff. Okay. So yeah, so I'm able to do that pretty well. This turned into kind of a not OPR. We'll do a little bit here. Okay. So the talc. So I use one of my X-Actos. You just need something kind of nice and round and smooth. I don't like wood. Wood has both the texture and you'll find that texture grabs the putty and grips it pretty well. So the metal or glass or acrylic tubing tends to work a little bit better, or plastic. If it's plastic, just solid tubes are a little better than the hollow ones because they flex, but it doesn't matter. You're just rolling pizza dough out. And you try to get with the thinning. You do all sorts of stuff with this. Those of you that are really good with this stuff, I mean, obviously you can make whatever you want, but yeah, not me. Stugs and Panzer IVs were used. Yeah, Syria had those. Syria had a lot of the German leftover stuff. I don't think there's any Stugs in the Middle East though. Panzer IVs, yes, but was there Stugs down there? Was it Yag? Was it Yags? Guys are like, yeah, look at this sometimes. Yeah, I know enough about that stuff to get myself in trouble. And then when I need to know, I just study up on it. That's how I play that up. Because my interests go across so many genres and stuff. It's tough. Sometimes I do wish I was only interested in one subject. It'd be fun. But yeah. No, and especially like on Instagram where we start playing the algorithms and you start liking a few subject matters on Instagram, and I still think it's one of the better resource tools out there. I know Gunpla, you asked me about that. Google use. So here's how I do this. So if I'm going to do what I'm doing is I'm going to go into Instagram and throw up Centurion in the hashtag search part, see what comes up, and that'll lead you down a whole rabbit hole because you'll get a whole bunch of stuff, which is great. And then what I do is I'll use Google for the real specific stuff. If I have a variant in something really specific in mind, Google image search is better for that, I find. So you combine the two together to kind of develop a reference background on what it is you're doing. That's a good way to go. Because the reason why I find Instagram helpful is what you do is in the back end, you have that little button on the right of under the photo. It looks like it's a little Navy flag looking one. It's the upside down, whatever, it's the V thing. Click that. That's your collection. Save to collection, and then you can click the save, and then it'll open the next page, and then you can make as many collections as you want. So you can make an IDF Centurion folder, and then every time you see one on Instagram, you just click that button, hold it down. It'll bring up your list of folders to put it in. Boom, put it in that one. So I do all that on Instagram. So I have all sorts of trains. I have a lot of other Gunpla guys that clean builders and weather builders and those Japanese guys that post on Twitter a lot that get shared on Instagram, for my crazy Gunpla stuff, and then all sorts of things on Instagram. It's great. And then, like I said, going to YouTube. I mean, Google, not YouTube. Make some smaller ones here. And then you can do your primary searches on your specific whatever it be. It's a little bit easier that way. It's hard to randomly search Google for images of stuff. You can a little bit. I just think Instagram is the better photos are on Instagram now. It's shifted that dynamic as Instagram has come up. It's still a solid photo sharing platform, although Meta wants it to be TikTok. Go make your reels, boys. Joe will tell you. Making your reels, Joe? How you doing on your reels? Was there some Stugs in the 6-Day War? Okay. That's nice. You guys are like, what's he doing? So I'm just making some extra use kind of tarps and stuff because I'm using this resin up the epoxy up. Just showing you how you kind of you can quickly. Actually, you know what? Well, I need you in there. Hold on. Bad idea. Just gotta be careful with it. not that I would use this or can or may or may not, but I'm making sure my your sight lines are still clear with this kind of stuff. What this could be good for here in particular is it's a shame I don't have the bin. Like that makes me mad. It does, because I wish I saved half of that, so I'm only going to throw away that little bit. That's not too bad. But when you get into the heavy gear, of all the tanks that they do, they have these huge baskets that are full, and then they have usually the top panel is the air recognition panel, which is usually orange for Israel. So these could be one or the other. Could be a recognition panel down the road later on or something. So what I don't want it to do is join. Okay, good. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okie doke. So I'm kind of making just some potential options for the future. Kind of a second tier. So that could be kind of a recognition panel. Problem is I'm going to sand underneath that a little bit. That's okay. And then let's do this again. Get those back off those hinges. Maybe we use this for painting demos later. I try to leave, you want to leave a little bit of that natural. These are heavy tarps. It's not a blanket, not intended to be a blanket. Kind of having a good time. This is super low key chill for me. I feel like I'm not working hard. But this kind of stuff's really important if you're looking to up your game, outside of the painting and weathering conversation. These simple little things like this with the jerry can and some ammunition boxes, you can tweak a model in a heartbeat, and it gives it just a nice original little look. If that's speaking of Stugs and Panzer, that could be the red flag. And given the sensitivity of life, what I've just done is I've covered up that swastika that would have been, I probably can't even say that word on here. I've covered up the marking, the German national marking on that, in that conversation to protect that. So you could put that on there and still get away with it, without getting censored, if you will. And I'm not getting into, I don't have a dog in that fight. But just as a reference of how you do tarps and stuff, for that kind of conversation. Or the little air recognition panels are typically cut size, 2 foot by 3 foot or 3 meter by 4 meter or something of that ilk. Usually if they're modern versions, they'll have a sewed edge to it. So if you want to get really slick, come back in and you can, I recommend tape. It's a little bit tricky to make thin tarps in even Stevens. You can take a Tamiya tape in 1 mil size, and you can lay that right down over that. You'd be surprised how nice that looks. And then when it's all said and dry, put a little super glue on that tape, and then take your little pin vise and put some little grommet holes. And if you're hyper slick, like Nog, that boy's slick. You can probably paint a little grommet in there, or even make a little grommet if you're that so inclined, especially in 16th scale. That turned out pretty cool. All right, that's probably enough for that. These guys, I'm just going to sacrifice. They're the sacrificial lambs of today. What do we got there? What do we? Did I get everybody? I'm gonna do some. We'll do some switch some oils now. Stuff. I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick, just because I've made a mess. I don't even know what Centurion means when it comes to armor. Pat, you're awesome, dude. Trying to watch some historical videos and things, but it's just so much. Yeah, that's a lot. So patty cakes. The single most used tank post World War II is the British Centurion, and it came in 1 million versions, almost literally. I think in terms of British March, they call it, as you're familiar with Machine and Krieger terminology and your RX 178 Mark II MK2. Some people like to say it's actually Mark, M-A-R-K, for variant. It's the British term for variant 2. And they use Roman numerals, and I believe the Centurion went up to 13, straight up out of the UK. And then I know they were basically exported to basically every Western nation minus the US used them at some point in time. So most of NATO, Scandinavian countries, all the way through, I think India received some, and then you've got the Vickers development through there, and some other battle tanks through there. But yeah, Centurions ended up almost everywhere. African nations, Middle East nations, multiples. There might even be some Centurion on Centurion battles in Pakistan, India, maybe. I can't remember. Something I might be bullshitting you. I don't know. But between the M46, M47, M48 Pattons and the Centurions, those are your two. And then you have the T34/55 series for the bulk of the rest. And then ultimately, now it's T72s versus kind of M60s. Centurion's gone away. And then most of it's replaced with Leopard 2s and or indigenous designs. And then the Abrams. Pretty much covers it. Sort of. Did I miss anybody? I might have. Because even South Africa, dude, and I know we've got kits of the Oliphant, that's Centurion base. Merkavas are originally leased from bottom up, were at least the workable suspension design theories were Centurion based theories, and were obviously remanufactured and heavier and stronger, handle much faster speeds on the Merkavas. Who else? What else? It's a fascinating development. I mean, it's probably, there's the F4 Phantom and probably the Centurion, and then the F16, and in the Western side, and then probably MiGs, and you have the MiG developments and the T60, not really 62s. They don't really get far out, but the 55s for sure. The 55s, and then the 72s on the Russian side of development. Those are your heavyweights, patty cakes. Lots of ways you can go with that. You're awesome, dude. I love it. They're all bully. Don't bully patty cakes. Pat's great, man. Pat's a gunpla builder. They even had some Hummels. Nice. Yeah, I didn't study much in serious post-war. I mean, outside, I think there's a couple Panzer IVs that survived in like Laterne Museum and stuff like that. But let's see, what do we got? I covered. Just checking any questions. Okay. All right, hang tight. Oh, well, the sink's right here. Don't go anywhere. That's the beauty of having the kitchen right here. Okay. Just want to get all that residue off my hands so I can paint something here for you guys real quick. All right. We'll just do a little conversation since we're on the Churchill. Yeah, that's good times. Making tarps is fun. Just a shame. I just feel bad. It's $20 in epoxy right out the door. Okay. I will need that. Okay. So I'm going to cut up and destroy that. I won't actually. So that's where we kind of got to today. That guy's already tried. Okay, so oil paint rendering. It's hilarious, dude. Spent 2 hours not doing what the title of the thing is. I'll switch the title up too. I'll change the title. I can do that. I can edit the title of the video and stuff like that. Oh, man, I cracked myself up. Not cool, broham. Okay. Let me just show this in case you guys are not familiar. If you're on Instagram, you saw some teaser pics of this guy. So kind of in the conversation, oil paint rendering. Actually, let me do this. Let me grab these guys, these fellers. Okay. So I love having everything like right here. It's really nice. Okay, so let's have a conversation for a second. I don't need the water. Not that water. Let's see. Got a crowded workbench of stuff. Can you guys hear the ACs kick on by the chance? Can you hear this thing? I don't know if you can or not. Okay. Everybody good? The camera on. I think I can add this one to stream. Okay, there we go. Look at that beautiful palette here. Let me see here. I gotta. Oops. Made a new one. So I got the stickies on it. It's not bad. Oh, is it? Hold on. No, it doesn't have tape. It would help if I added the tape. I was like, why is that not staying down? Yeah, OPR. Always a good time. Never lets you down. Oh, reliable. So we're going to call that one. I'm going to go hire the X-Dos Eki spokesman. Going to do OPR commercials with the most interesting man in the world. Just going to call it old reliable. I'm a marketing genius. Just have no ability to act upon it. Okay. So oil pallet down or tape down. Get that down. And there's double side tape. That'll pop off as you need. It's no big deal. So I got to do this that way. You, sir, go this way. No, this way. It's all opposite. Actually, let me just put it where I want it, and then I'll move the camera. Okay. So that gets that down. And then this dude here goes, there we go. Okay. Tighten that up. Let me get some thinner. Use this last cup. All right. And one piece of tape short. So yeah, that's a early stages construction, kit bashing, Tamiya Venerable Mark VII Churchill into a IDF Super Churchill using AFE Club Sho't Gimel from 1982 Centurion. I assume that's shot call. Shot gall, shot cow. I don't know if it's Sho't. I'm assuming it's shot because it's SHO''T in Hebrew or whatever that it's like, because it's Merkava, by the way. It's not Merkava. It's not Merkava. It's Merkava. Sorry, Merkava. And I've had to say that to myself like a million times because I grew up calling them, it's a Tamiya Merkava. Yeah, that's not how you say it. My tape's stuck to the damn table. I mean, it's supposed to, but not where. Right there. Come on. Right there. Okay. Do a little OPR work. I think you guys can see that pretty good. Yep. Okay. All righty. We good. Put that there. The brush is over here. Anybody ordered from KINGART received a shipment notice in the last week, by the way? Mine's been almost a week and I haven't received a shipment notice. Oh, what's going on with them? They're kind of acting strange. Their Labor Day sale was only 25% off. Last year's Labor Day sale was 50% off. I don't know if that was intentional. Sometimes companies will do that when they're kind of new. They'll overextend the sales up front. Oh, no. Yeah, usually you get a shipping notice. I ordered Friday. It's already been 2 days past Labor Day. They could be slammed, but that's fine. Which is cool. Do I have what I need? I'll just go over here too. Okie doke. Have a bench full of stuff. Okay, so oil paint rendering. A lot of you know this. That's all well and good. Some of you don't. But also for those news coming through. Yeah, I can't wait for the Sotheby stuff. And it's just been hitting the timing right, patty cakes to get the Sotheby pulled out, throw it down, and get it going and underway. And that's just, we're really close. Everything's in a good spot to where I can introduce a couple of these projects that I've wanted to get on for a while. And it's been a weird summer. Nothing's really gone to plan. That's kind of exhausting in and of itself. You know what I mean? Okay. So including this guy right here, but all this, and then this guy here. So this die cast piece, this die cast piece, 1/50th scale, pre-painted die cast. It's a, do I say this right? Mamouette. It's a RT540, which is about a 20-ton wheeled crane, 25-ton wheeled crane, something like that, I believe. This is from one of my patrons, and he said, "Hey, can you just weather this up?" And it, you know, these guys are the 1/50th die cast world, very, very common, hyper common, super common. Don't smash it on the tank. And so that's what it looks like. And then all I've done is I put a same thing as I did with all the mecha streams from before, clear primer, matte coat, OPR. So patrons, you already got a video on this part over here, the rusted exhaust shield, all oils, some sponge chipping to start, some basics just to get some stuff down, wear and tear. And I'm overdoing a little bit, but that's the fun of this part. You know, I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So that's that. What do there? Actually, quite enjoyable. Kind of a pain to work with. I can't break it apart. It's really difficult to break apart, but. So I have some new oil paints here, and I'll talk about the colors and the brand and stuff in a sec. But what I did was I did a bit of test run on the Tempest. So some of the new work you can kind of see in here is this kind of light colorway. Again, straight up paint, no pre-shading, none of that stuff. No panel line washes, capillary action over the whole thing. This is all, the entire plane weathering is all OPR, straight under the paint, boom, done. The only thing, this is all matte paint. So again, you have a matte varnish on the die cast. You're going to need the matte surface for tooth. A lot of people misinterpret that as satin glosses, and they try to go down that road and they try to explain it as like, that's what you should be doing. The answer is no. You need the tooth. You need the matte tooth, but you don't need it to be sandpaper. Matte paint, when painted properly, is fairly smooth. So this is all smooth work. But what happens is, I don't know if you guys are going to see this on camera, but you're going to get, not this one. I'll show you on the Black Widow here in a second. You see a little bit here. But all the work between kind of a little bit of scruffing up and some chipping work, and then the brush work of the OPR starts to burnish that matte paint down, so you get a varietal of sheens, which is why you always hear me bark about no varnishes after the fact. You can pre-varnish stuff in certain scenarios if you need to. You know, like I've had some decals or matte varnishes on the BRG. You can do that for sure. It's not a big deal. But post that, the answer to me is almost always no. There's, you know, even handling, even tabletop gamers, you know, recommend a base of some kind if you really are interested in high level finishes and that kind of stuff. So again, kind of to debunk a lot of stuff with oils, you still hear a lot of guys, well, it takes weeks to dry. No, dude, sometimes it dries so fast I can't even get it to work. And like, it's in the summertime, it's just drying so fast because it's the palette of love. You see all that little juice right here? This is the key to life. That's the answer to everything. Cardboard palette. Just if you have a question about life, put on a cardboard palette, you'll be fine. That soaks up the linseed oil out of the oil paints, leaving you a very workable paint that dries dead matte and is very blendable. Doesn't skate around, all crazy glossy, really fast and all that. So it dries dead matte. And then the recent one, we'll use the Cromwell today. But then what you guys have been seeing here is the P61. It's the Two-Face. I forget who said that to me. Somebody wrote in one of the comments from the last P61 stream to do a decal on the front for Two-Face, which I thought was pretty funny. I thought that was actually pretty clever. So we have the olive drab. So if you recall back from the P38 demos, not demos, but the P30, the aircraft weathering conversations we were having, where I showcased the P38 reference photos in color on the olive drab side. You can see the faded, overpainted OD stripes, and then all the weathering, everything you see on there is all OPR straight up on the paint. There's, again, no varnishes, no nothing. Just spray and go. And you can see the various sheens that you get. You can see the cowling's pretty slick, and you've got the matte from the paint and the exhaust, and you can see the various sheens through the walkways. A little bit of chipping done in there on that side. This side was a recent video, fairly recent. You can see again the sheens through the black. Get the matte black and the varietals of stuff. And that's what you see when you study these photos up close, because that's what you're getting in terms of, and this is the matte black version, by the way. There is a gloss, obviously there is a gloss black version of the P61. This is not that. This is an earlier version when they went from OD to black. And the reason I did that, and I think we talked about that at length, was there's not a ton of gloss black out there, to be honest with everybody. It's you have some in the rail, you will have some gloss black to deal with. There's a couple modern jets trainers, the Hawk, the British Hawk. But in terms of actual gloss black camp combat paint, not much. So the value comes from working on the matte black and the grays and stuff and the faded tones. There's more value for everybody in that, even for me, you know, because this was good. But you can see how the light reflects through all that. That's unweathered paint on the back. That's just airbrush paint, matte paint, and then some scrubbing and some early chipping with the brush. That burnishes the paint down, gives you the varietal sheens all through here and all this stuff. You see all the sheen on the booms and stuff like that. And then you see the dead matte through here. That's all from the oils. So all OPR, brother. Everybody out there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Paint, OPR. There's no pre-shading, no post-shading. It's a lot of fun. Okay, I have nowhere to put this guy. And then this dude too, same thing here. And all the armor stuff. Get you back to here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Let's see where we kind of go from there. Table out of the way. I still have to weather up kind of the front armor panel. I still have to repair the machine gun. There's a tarp around here somewhere. So it's supposed to be a tarp here, dude, but I can weather underneath it anyway. Most of the top of the turret's kind of been pretty much done. That's all oils. Everything's oils. So just a little bit of paint, little chipping, little oils. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. They're missing anything else. Hello, Forest Ghost. Hello, brother. I noticed a lot of companies were kind of tight on liberties. Yeah, I think it's a sign of the times. It was the worst summer for RSP in terms of our business. Just in general, you know, outside of the problems I've had leading up to the summertime, which didn't help at all. When you don't have access to your inventory for a while, it's trouble. Tuesday. Okay, Bruce, thank you. Yeah, no, I should. They either have the wrong email or my order hasn't come out yet. Ask me about a solution to a problem. I will look wide and say cardboard pallet. Do it, John. Do it. It has solved so many problems. Cardboard. Well, you know, it should be like in that History Channel. What am I looking for? Screw it. I'll get a new one. You know that the History Channel shows, because I'm sure they're around. Everybody's seen them now by now. Is you know, like the top 5 inventions of human in the human era. You know, it's the wheel, the printing press. I'm gonna throw down a cardboard pallet. Just throwing that out there. I'm changing the historical records. Okay. So I just do this because it's the paper towel is easy to spin. It gives me a clear. I'm a little zoomed in. So I've got a little setup here. We'll see when the octopus is in full swing, the jig, the model jig, where this goes. I think my IKEA wood leg, this is the big job. There's the little wood legs I use for the other stuff and then other things. I'm still a fan of being a little bit lower, but I think it'll be nice because the octopus jig in particular, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't have it out. Mine's in pieces still, but the platform that it rests on tilts, so it can come down, and I think it'll work because I know Martin has used his for over a year now, probably, and he really enjoys it. And other people have said, hey, if you're going to get one, because y'all keep pushing me to get a jig. You don't like my IKEA wood legs, whatever. I tell you what, for efficiency though, for ease of work, for filming yourself, just a little heavy base and then a double side tape to hold the model in place a little bit. Honestly, it works fine. Like I don't have any problems whatsoever, except the train. I think the train fell off. Remember that one where the train went? That's because it weighs a ton, because the trains are heavy. Okay, so let's get our brushes set. That's an acrylic brush, my friend. That was a bad juju. See, I knew I was going to screw that up. Get that solvent out of there for later. It'll evaporate bone dry, and I won't have a problem with it. I need a really good crispy detail painter. I need to mark that one so I know this is my blender. So yeah, I did order a bunch of new KINGART brushes because my boys are on their thingy. So I'll follow up with them tomorrow. See what's up with my order. But if you need some of these guys, I was getting the gold ones or color 6 to 8 months. I forget how long. I think maybe almost a year. Some of these I ordered mine about a year ago after this August, September last year on some of these. So the tape is just so they don't roll around on my bench. I just put that on recently because I have like a half a degree slope. My old building, bro, it's sloped. You are not level. So when I get my 3D printer, leveling it's going to be fun. That'll be fun. That'll be a thing. Okay. So the red one, just so you guys know, is a blender. I keep it fairly clean. And then the two odd size shaped ones are also blenders. You have kind of a flat rake. And this model has been sitting in the cupboard for a minute. So I'm going to take a little fresh thinner, just kind of wipe the surface down a little bit. Everything on here is dried paint. Won't hurt it. Nothing's harmed in the process. As the disclaimer goes, we did not harm any of this stuff in the process. And I've done some work through here. You can see the chipping over here. Forget that. I don't remember. I do not recall the stream numbers for this guy. It goes back a ways now. So there's plenty. All the paint, everything you see in here is either filmed on a live stream and or on Patreon. So you guys, if you want to get caught up on this guy, if you're new, if you're just hanging out in chat, say hello. Everybody's friendly here. That's funny, Robert. Yeah, I'm sure there's some. Well, somebody was talking about that. They told me the other day, and he said, "You know who probably has his arms up in the air?" I'm not gonna name names, but yeah, this isn't the reason I showed you that. The purpose of that isn't. I mean, I will have books on the subject for sure, and I will make money as a company, but OPR is not like a sellable technique or anything. That's to really to educate the masses that it's a really, really efficient technique. Double reelie, 2 reelies. That means it's very efficient. You know, we're talking, and there's plenty of streams where with you have the trains, the robots, all that stuff. Where just if you have a color down, a paint down, even a colored plastic, as long as the surface is ready to take an oil paint, which is usually a matte surface of some kind, whether it's a clear or a paint, you can weather immediately, just immediately, and it will dry by the end of the day. Boom, done. You can go. Next session you have. Most of you will work 1 or 2 hours a day at most. You know, like me, if I'm hustling, I'm doing 2 or 3 sessions a day sometimes, but I'm going to switch up a project. So if I work a couple hours on one model, I can switch from an aircraft to a tank with the same palette. It's that efficient. I have the same brushes. I can have lunch, come back, so that type of efficiency. The only thing that slows me down is just recording it and talking about it. So when I'm kind of doing it, you know, which you probably like, get on it. Okay, so let's see here. It's a very efficient process. So just try to showcase as much as I can. What I do need though is, let's take this guy. I don't know how dry these guys are. A little bit. I'll walk through the colors here in a sec. So I don't break anything. Where's my diesel dry out a little bit? No, they're pretty good. Okay. Everything's pretty much ready to go. I made that yesterday. Okay. And the last bit to do sometimes with the palette is just get a little fresh thinner down on some of those old ones. These will dry out a little bit like a cake frosting or like a cupcake that's like a day old. It gets a little bit of like a dry shell on the outside. So you just want to. So the brush has trouble getting through that. I don't probably need those, but I do need this guy. Those two back there. Okay. So what I've done is for those that don't know, some of you are on Patreon know this because you saw the video for that, the shopping video. There's a local art store up here, Blick, one of the Dick Blick stores is up here in Portland near me. And my selection of oil paints are pushing anywhere on the low end of around 7 to 10 years, as much as 20 years old, my tubes. And that's how long this lasts, which is why a lot of companies just aren't thrilled with oil paints, because you buy them once, and you know, if you're like me who use them a lot, you still get a decade out of them. Most of my tubes are drying out before I can finish them out. That's how old and long that they are. So clickbait title for a video. The one technique. Right. That's true. It's true, Pat. I mean, that's how that algorithm's played, man. I bet you that would get 500,000 views in a year too. So Mr. Officer Mike wants to throw us a wrench and say he's going to go dabble in 39 Poland. I know for most of it was dry. Okay, so that would have been late summer, right? Kind of a late summer invasion. Was it a spring invasion or a summer invasion? When my tanks are making, yeah, most of it's dusty. Besides light mud. Well, I'd probably, if I'm doing a dusty tank, I'm gonna be doing pigments as well. So my leaning first is knowing what a Panzer Gray looks like heavily dusted. Pigments are going to be your best friend for that, to really dive in and I think Grizz model with his Panzer I, where he had some really good pigment work on that, is I know what I'm talking about, is a good it's a good indicator. Yeah, if it's September in the fall, it probably can get wet pretty fast though. But as I've described before, is there's only 3 or 4 colors available per brand of paint of what you're talking about. So there's only buff and light mud, at least in 502s, but the titanium buff that I have here, the off-white, there's only a handful of colors. So just gradually buy them over time and then add them on. And I'm not going to yell at you, Mike, but I've said this many, many times before. It's not one color. I'm blending up multiple tones all the time. All the time. I don't just put buff on my tank. I don't just put light mud on my tank as a color. I put them on the palette and I blend up my little Jimmy Jams to get the color I'm looking for. So I'm pulling a little whites and some grays and some other stuff. You have to get comfortable as a model builder, all of you, with blending colors on the palette and or in the bottle and the jar. There's a very rare occasion that I actually just use a color. It almost, I had this thought the other day, it almost never happens. And maybe I'm not explaining this well enough. Maybe this is on me. There's every single time I sit down, if you go back and watch every single video, where's my dust brush? Let's see, I want to make this one. So this is titanium buff. This is UN white, UN faded white. I need a little peach fuzz love. And this is my regular white. There's 4 colors right there immediately. And if you watch every single video I do, it's almost all the same conversation of both. Oh boy. And we get the bitches. All right, hold on. Block user. Okay. Understand that as coach, when you're running your route, you're just not making one cut and go. This is multiple cuts and go. This is you're doing 2 or 3 steps to get to that ball. It's the same thing here. It's never just the one color. So get all the light tones. I don't even care what the names are. I don't care what brand it is. I don't care what you're using, but you're going to need a lighter tone to adjust. You're going to need your middle range dirt tone and then some sort of darker tone to play with. And then you're going to be blending them all up on there. So when you ask me these questions, I can't just say, well, it's just buff. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking my buff here. I've got 502 dark mud. Is that 502s here? No, that's what gray is that? Schnizzle pie. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors going already. That's what I'm talking about, where I'm tweaking things. I'm always tuning things. I never just sit down and put light mud on my tank as the 502 light mud oil paint on my tank. It's always mixed in with some other stuff. There's always buff next to it. There's every single time. So get in that mode of really commit to it. Spend the night. Just take 3 or 4 colors and just blend as to make a color, and then put that down, and then tune that color by pulling in an industrial earth. It's right there. It's right there on the screen there for you. That's 6 colors blended. Here's your light version and your little bit. That's not the best tone, but if it isn't the best, then make it the best. Pull a little. Boy, those blend nice. So while I'm yelling at Officer Mike, and he knows why, it's with love. What we have here is my Winsor Newtons. It's always the burnt sienna, burnt umber, and raw umber. And then I've got some KINGART and 12 shades of gray, which I've linked in the description down below. I've talked to the Amazon set and the KINGART oil paint set. So we have a Payne's gray here, and they all look the same. They're all kind of in their state. They look the same like this in their cake state. Payne's gray, and then I have black, KINGART black, and then I put in. No, my bad. That is the new Gamlin Van Dyke Brown right here. I have to remember what I've done. There's so many colors here. So you've got a whole selection of browns and dark russes and dark grays in here. And then this is my KINGART black. And then I switched to, I still have my dark mud from 502 and my industrial earth from 502. No. Yes. No, my bad. That is 502's industrial earth, because there's the new olive right there. And then I've got Gamlin Made right here in Portland. Labels 1980. The line of paints is the 1980 line. You'll see a big 1980 on them. The good value, $5 a tube. They're 37 mil tubes, so they're twice the size of the hobby brand. So they're same size as Winsor Newton, all that kind of stuff. So a bunch of new colors in here, including titanium white. I think this is UN faded white from 502 still, and then I've got the copper patina in there. This is the new turquoise, new Prussian blue, faded green from 502 I brought back, which is that really, really dark green. Some other projects will need it. I think I'm going to play with that on the PC, on the olive drab stuff. And then the new olive green from Gamlin, which is really nice color. And then the regular cadmium green. And then the 12 shades of gray, you've got the yellow gray, violet gray, and then 502, or no, KINGART peach rose, delicate rose, kind of a flesh tone. And then the 502 faded maroon. I put a little white next to my pinks because I got a future project, or I got something coming where I need some really good pinks tones. So I threw the white next to the red to make the blending. Sometimes you can do that too, by the way. I don't really do it a lot for camera work, but sometimes if you're making a specific palette, if you know you're going to be blending colors for making other stuff, then put those together. And then this is the new yellow, titanium yellow oxide from Gamlin, and then their Naples yellow, and then their permanent orange right there. So I've got my rust and brown and earth tones right there. Some other stuff. That's a lot there. It's a lot to go through. So yeah. Okay. We ready? We ready. But that's what I mean, Mike, is really, really dive into color blending. So have buff, light mud, white, light grays, all of it. You, my friend, are like right in my face. I've done no paint work yet today. This color will probably be wrong for this model. But we'll throw it down as a teachable moment. That's not bad. Kind of a gray dirt in there. Kind of contrasts nicely with the flesh tones of desert. Desert LRGG pink, which is the base color of the model. So I'm just blocking in some dust. I've got some lighter dust tones from before. This kind of gives me a little bit of a layer. And the other thing is, you know, I mean, I've been using the same range of paints on any kind of color model. So it doesn't honestly matter that it's 39 Poland versus 44 Hungary versus what if desert. It's just the manipulation of the colors. You got to have your palette set up so that you can do this. And I know you do. You just really have to commit to that time of just sitting down and just, you know, getting past the name of the color. A lot of guys get hung up on that. Not just you, Mike, but just every, you know, that's a big deal out there. The name of the color. I mean, if I'm doing paint, I'm calling it, you know, dirt 1, dirt 2, dirt 3, just because people get so hung up on that name of what that is. And it's just a usage name more than anything else. You just need to understand that part. And then the fact that it's, the power of this is the palette. This is what I was actually, I mean, I'm joking, but I'm not. The seriousness is this color palette is your power right here. This is the advantage, that you don't need 20 bottles in front of you to open and close, and apply one tone or try to mix a liquid together in terms of a weathering chemical. That's a tough thing to deal with. I did that for 10 years to get colors I wanted out of stuff. This is why the oils came about. So you can see I'm blending a little bit more light tones, a little bit more white tones on this first. So I've got a range of stuff in here. And I'm kind of just, it gives me varietal on the model. Varietal, like it's a wine. Variety on the model. So I'm just kind of blocking it in. This is just a test model. I didn't build this. So there's that big gap right there. There's a tarp that covers that. Typical armor modeler, right? I'm blaming the equipment. Now, this was an eBay purchase as a magazine project years and years ago. That's what this guy was. I probably don't need dust on the top of that. So I'm just kind of blocking in. Let's do a little stipple action here. Stipple dude. Did that make sense though, Mike? Oh, geez, she's back. Wow, bitch is fucking angry. Block user again. Okay, sorry about that. It's the idea of what, see, that you're making this way too hard, Mike. I've literally said there's 3 or 4 colors and that's about it. Like you have to get in that context of you have a white, a light, tan, a dirt, and some other, like that's it, man. That's the color range. And then you pull in like a darker gray or a darker green, and you have to get the comfort of, and I know, I don't want to say men in particular, but I know the color conversation is a challenge. And just, it's almost just dive into the pool kind of deal. Just get a palette going of all your tones and then blend them together. Like, watch what I just did. You saw me just do it. Like, it's not going to hurt anything. You're not going to F anything up. That kind of part of that deal is mostly mental. Most of this is a mental block. It's not, you can't do this. I know I've seen your work. You can totally do this. For even a guy who's relatively fresh or new to this stuff, you're very capable. So it's not a question of can you do it? It's just getting past that mental, that first step for you. You're so the fear factor is real in scale modeling. The number one question I get besides the varnish question is, I do not want to mess this up. That is how most of you open your conversations to me, not just Officer Mike or anything like that. What's up, Sal? We got him, buddy. I'm on it. But that's what that is really the mental thing. And why you see me talk about this and everything that I do, the how and the why, is to break down that trepidation, that, oh shit, I don't want to F up my $100 model. I'm letting dirts. You're watching it in practice. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not stressed. I don't even care. I'm like, whatever, watch, because I know oils give you workable time now. It's not, if this was an acrylic, it'd be a different conversation, if you know what I mean. And even the enamels, where I'm going to be fearing tide marks and all sorts of other stuff, I'm able to even teach this because the oils are so powerful and flexible like this. So now I'm just stippling this in there, and there's 4 or 5 colors in there already. And this will help. I mean, just dive in and do it. If it's a Panzer gray, then you're going to, first off, you get beautiful contrast. So let's have that conversation. And you saw that because you're on Patreon, you saw that on the die cast. That's a black model. It's basically a step up from a Panzer gray. And I just slapped down the dust on that. That's a dusty Panzer gray tank fender for you. And I walked that all the way through for you. I mean, outside of the sponge chipping, which you kind of wouldn't need, you can go right to that. And it's these colors right here. And it's the poking through of your base colors that kind of shift you around a little bit, and you just add in more kind of gray tones to match the gray Panzer, versus kind of, if you're in the tritone, you've got red, browns, and greens to add in and play with a little bit. And not that you can't do reds and greens on a black tank or whatever, gray tank, and you can, you're fine. But it's that kind of idea that you're hung up on, no, bro, you've got the colors, put it down and go. Stipple, blend it, go. Trust me. Got to trust the process. I'm not going to steer you wrong. I'm not going to screw your tank up. You are. I'm not. Kidding. Just fucking with you. But that's what I mean by that is you can see right here. You can see how this is a little bit lighter up top. That's all I did. I just put a little bit of darker shade in the cracks and crevices, and I'm stippling fast and furious around the edges. That light up there a little bit better. And this is really low contrast. This is a desert piece. And you can see the bristle leaves a little bit of a texture, gives you a little bit of a dirt texture. And if you wanted to come in, you could do these too. You can do a little love this way. Light to dark. So I'm getting my light tones down first. So I see how I've blended that in first. And then you're not going to see that too much. Just make sure you don't F up. That's a tide mark waiting to happen. So just clean that up. I just made sure that thinner went all the way up. You can see that the sheen, that glossiness, that's the wet thinner. And this will dry. Get your hair dryer. I'll bust you out, Mike. Don't worry. I mean, it'll happen, dude. You did really what it is for you and some others is that aha moment. And I'm having it with a couple guys that talk about it to me. And, One of it's going to be how much thinner's on that brush. I'm just trying this off camera. One of them is going to be how much thinner's on that brush, and when you get to that realization of what that is, and you see it, that opens up a whole new world for you. And then the second part's going to be a little bit on this conversation with color and just understanding what color does and all that stuff. And you can see how even on this model here, granted I talked the whole night, but so it's a slight shift of tone. You can look on the palette over here. You've got your buff, your UN faded white, titanium white, little gray, and little dark green, a little bit of a peach color kind of blended in together. But you take out the peach in that conversation, and that you can still use that for dust and polling. So that'll help. But it's the understanding that at the core, including paint, including camouflage and all that stuff, I almost never use just the pure color. There's always a shift somewhere. What I'm doing, there's 100 bottles of paint behind me because I use 99 of them. And Mike, you are one of those bottles. But that's what I mean by that is, like, I'm not the guy that you're going to follow that goes and picks, to me, olive drab, and that's my color for my Sherman. That's not how that works. That's not how I work. That's not how I've ever worked. Weathering is the same way. It's never, I bought a bottle of buff. And I did that in the beginning. And I say that because the first groups of weathering enamels were the MIG production stuff. And it was like a tan. There was a gray, there was a tan, there was a brown, and a black. I think there was 4. And you put one down. That's what you do. And I'm like, no, man, I want to do this, this, and this. And so you start blending of the 4. I made other versions of the 4. And I took the red label enamel thinner MIG productions, and it's in the photos in the book. You can see some of it. Way back when in 2005, 06, 07, and made a gray out of the tan and the brown and the black and kind of mixed the colors together to get something. But it was one color in that bottle, and it still was one color on the model. And I was like, that doesn't work either, because life doesn't do that unless you're at Tank Fest and they drive through that one patch of dirt and it's that one color on every tank. But that's not weathering. You need life, you need age. This goes to a much deeper conversation when you study those black and white photos, in particular, in the wartime and everything else. That's because they've been doing that for weeks and months and then to get up to that point of the photo. You have to understand that that's built up from all sorts of stuff that's happened prior to that moment in time. You have to treat weathering the same way. Depth of color, strength of colors from all various points of it. So get those light tones, the 4, 5, 6 that are available. Throw them on the palette like you see here, and just exactly what you see me do. I pulled in the buff first. I walked slow, pulled in the buff first, then a little bit of the white, and kind of made that up. It was kind of this nice little tone right there. The glare is brutal. Sorry about that. I can't figure that part out. I can't do all. It's the one crux of it. While you guys are showing each other social media love, I just pulled in the buff. And this is the new buff, but it's the same as the old buff, same general color. Pulled in a little off-white, and then I said, you know what? Let me get a little. So just above the cardboard. This is why it's all mixable. And if you watch, and I mean this seriously, if you watch Bob Ross, he does the same effing thing. He does the same colors: Prussian blue, Van Dyke browns, titanium whites, titanium buff. He has the same. I'm back to traditional art colors now, because that's what I've gone with Gamblin, which is a traditional art paint, oil paints now, versus the 502s, which are kind of marketing scale model color names, which is fine. So it's the same thing. Watch a Bob Ross. He's got my Van Dyke brown with a little white. He's creating his off shades, and he's mixing all right there. It's all a little bit of cadmium yellow in there, a whole bunch of things. I've got all that right there, Naples yellow. But I'm using, roses and peaches to get kind of a desert pink color, a little bit tint to it. It's all I'm doing. That's super simple. And just have the right surface ready to go. I think you can do it. Let's go over here a little bit more. I'm talking so much. This is summertime and drying so fast. I'm just kind of prepping. But let me actually shift the tone for you. So let me get some of that paint out of there. And let's pull in some of this pink, desert pink and reds into this dust over here. Oops. There's your speckle effects right there. So I just went crazy, put that in there. Now let's shift that around a little bit. So now start pulling in as I'm blending. I'm pulling in more of the whites in the off whites into that. So now I've got kind of a color range of slightly more pink dirt. You should be able to, it's kind of what you see there. It's a little bit, will it focus over there? Yeah. So that kind of lets you see what that is. And we'll come over here. So it's a little bit of an off shade of the base color. You can do this with your grays and your greens and your forest. You just everything is all relatable to the. All you have is your colors on the palette that relate to what you're. That's why I've always said from day one of OPR, the colors on the palette relate to the colors on the model. Now you see multiple colors because I got 10 effing things going on at once. But if I'm doing a Panzer Gray tank, I don't have half of these colors. I mean, I probably don't need half of the colors on here. You know, I definitely don't need like a forest green and stuff like that. But you can use some of the blues and you can get away with some of the peaches and the pinks, probably not. The red, probably not. But these other ones for grease and grime and dust and dirt and rust a little bit, it's all kind of the same deal. So it's all maneuverable, you know, and you're seeing me use it. You've seen this palette now across multiple color schemes: Black Night Fighter, Olive Drab Night Fighter, Tempest and Desert Camo, Pink Desert thingy. This is the same. That's your, just that green's Panzer Gray. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what that is. That's all that is, the same colors. You can see the greens that they put in the oils to pull out the green of the tank, but you just shift that to grays. That's all you're doing. So it's all that. Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, I think the hardest thing, if we were to be like not joking for a second and just having a serious one-to-one with everybody here, I think the critical element that's missing is understanding that color, it's all relative to the project. You start with that conversation first and just work off of that principle of, okay, I've got a Panzer Gray, so I need 3 or 4 grays, some blacks and grease colors, some browns for that part of it, and maybe some rust, some little bit of stuff for that. Because we all like a little bit of rust every now and then, exhaust and everything else like that. But then your dust shades are all just your earth tones, and you're just going to shift those and control those by the other colors on the palette, which you just saw me do it right there. This is a pink desert pink, so I just pulled in a little pink over that. And that's just giving me a little bit of a variation in tone to work with that. But if I have this dust color in the white, I'll do it all over again here. So this is I think that's ready to go. Let's see, yeah, okay. So this is my dark kind of Panzer Gray-ish tone. Put that over up into here. So see how I've got kind of that shows you the color. So now I'm just working in that range of tones, and that'll be kind of the stuff I work with on my model a little bit. And if I want to warm or cool it, or control that knob, then I can come in with some of those tones. I haven't really used this guy yet, but there's kind of a yellowy gray dirt tone for like a next level up of the. You see how quick I'm doing this? It's right on the palette. It's right with the oil paint. It's all right there. Boom, done, boom, done, boom, done. It's that simple. To get the colors down, let them juice out, go. That's all you need to do. And just and the thing is, until you're comfortable, be fearless. Don't be afraid and go nuts. Like, it's okay. It's not gonna hurt anything. Trust me. It's not gonna be a big deal. And some of you, what's gonna happen is eventually it'll click. You'll have that aha moment. And this is probably the important part of this conversation for most of you, is like, you just don't do it enough. And I've been told this before, or I've relayed this conversation before with Mario Eanes that I had years ago. And, I find him to be a really good figure painter, and they're really good. His quality of his figures matches armor really well. Mario Eanes is in TankArt 4. Been a longtime friend. And we were sitting down having a beer at Euro years ago. Everybody always has a figure conversation because you don't see a lot of figures on my work. And he goes, because it's because you never do them. Not that you suck. You're fine. You're completely capable. But you paint 2 figures a year. Well, that's why figures aren't very good. And so in the color conversation, to be specific, is you're not building and painting enough to be truthful. And this is why I keep pushing on you guys, test models, practice models. The purpose of that is to gain you that experience and not use your effing projects as quote unquote experience, because you're jerking off on social media stuff, like trying to compete. And all. Like, no, dude, get 5 or 6 pieces of shit models from somebody somewhere and just use them to do this with in between. And until you get to that point, it's like going to the range and just firing off the rounds. Like, this is not competition. This is just to get your muscle motion, get your brain in the motion of using color. Trust me on this. I won't steer you wrong. I promise you guys. Later, guy. Later, Joe. And if it's a rant, it's fine too. I mean, it probably will turn a few of you off, but it's the same time, you got to hear this because most of you guys aren't, it's not clicking. And you keep asking the same questions. Like, I'm like, dude, it's every single video. It's right there. Just do it. Trust me. It won't bite. It won't hurt. It won't hurt the model. The oils are hyper forgiving, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that pink almost disappeared. So in that case there, I can get a little aggressive. And all sorts of colors going on over here. Well, there you go. Kind of a gray pink tone up in here. A little bit of dirt over there. And I hope that hits home. I hope it resonates with a few of you. Just one of you kind of really take that back and really come on and say, okay, that'll work. Then that's what I'm here for. I mean, it's going to be that kind of situation because colors are, maybe it's, I've been using them so much, I don't know, you know, that whole thing. I'm just, it's so second nature for me, but don't fear the colors. It's kind of in the shadow of the shadow. You know, there's a reason I don't use varnishes. Like, all this stuff isn't bullshit. Like, just understand that part of it, if you know what I mean. Varnishes will ruin a finish. That's why I don't use them. It's literally that basic. In terms of the final step, you know, sealing this up. I need to go lighter. I need more contrast. I got too dark in the tones, too matching the base color too much. There it goes. Usually with desert light colors like this, you're going to add a lighter dust is going to look a lot better. I can even come back in over here. There we go. So, I mean, trust me, I want you guys to really start to grab this stuff because it's gonna blow up your world. But it's never, if there's another lesson, it's never just one color. So just always keep that in mind. Try to at least have 3. I've always said to you guys, try to at least have 3 of something. So if you have green on the model, have 3 green oils down. And then 3 dust colors, and then 3 grease and grime and rust colors, and 3 grays, 3 reds and yellows. Like, at least start with 3s, and then you can build out from there. Because at $5 a tube, that lasts a decade. That's not a, I mean, I spent $60 in oil paints, and I mean, I'm not going to spend money on oil paints for a long time. Even though I did yesterday because I bought more colors. That's kind of a lie. But that's because I added more color. I wanted more colors. I wanted a really good kind of magenta pink for some gunpla, and I want a really good peachy, fleshy tone. And my KINGART tube is almost gone, and I don't want to buy a whole nother set of KINGART just for one tiny little tube because they don't sell them individually. So I did go get another tube, but that's just adding on to the color selection process. Because what I'm doing is I'm working my way through what I have in terms of my old tubes and going, okay, I need this color, I need this color, I need this color. And that's how I do that. Same thing as paint. Same thing as like, I need an olive drab. I need a, you know, you need versions of that stuff. Let me get a little love in here. You're going to get barked at sometimes. You guys better be ready. I'm telling you. My little Van Dyke Brown. Is that the Van Dyke Brown? Yeah. Get you guys on this, because trust me, when it hits and you guys do it, it's going to be gold for you guys. It'll be the money for you guys. So put a little kind of just grease and grime in here a little bit. So see how I layered up the color because that's already been dried in there. Kind of coffee shaking that up a little bit, blending that out. Just letting the bristles kind of dance through that color a little bit. And it'll blend in a little bit to the dust shade below, but it gives you a little bit of a kind of a contrast in that corner a little bit. And that was just taking the same kind of dusty dirt color and adding a little Van Dyke brown into that. Excuse me, the hiccups. Is this the black of the paints? That's Payne's gray. Question, sticking with the dust colors, how would you approach a sci-fi piece with a planet as something other than dirt color? Well, Gunpla Mew had that conversation, and it's just, what's the color of the dirt you're talking about? It's the same conversation, really. It's just your camo color. Really, it's the same idea. If it's Mars with red dirt, then you're just going to have tones that match. You just basically match. You just match. It's the simple answer. Just match up whatever it is that you're doing. If your planet is blue dirt, then it's going to be whatever that is. I find a lot of that to be truthful, unless you have actual chemical knowledge and physics knowledge of what the other planets are doing. Dirt tends to be dirt. The grays and beiges and tans across the universe. So it's going to be kind of a conversation of, well, we're going to play this up to where this particular planet is, you know, outside of a red-orange conversation. There's the blue-green conversation, and then you have the gray-tan conversation. We got a purple planet? I don't know. I mean, it just kind of just depends on whatever it is that you're looking to do. I think we see a little bit of that with like some of the Star Wars scenes and some of that where some of the other planets really, they start to explore some of the other colorways a little bit. But, you know, for scale model work, even tabletop minis and stuff like that, it's how much of that do you really want to go down that road of? I mean, unless you have just this whole scenario built out, kind of a deal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can create any scenario you want, Brian, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can really do it, but it's the truth of it is it's the same conversation of German 3-tone camo of yellow, greens, and tans. You know, you're still building off of that. The colors of the project / model dictate the palette. That's where that comes from. So the teals and the turquoise here are for that little blue power doll, because I have to finish that guy off. So that's why that's on there. I'm not going to put the teal and blue onto this particular model, but I just need that color around me for other things like that. So I'm adding darker tones into this kind of corner area up in here. Kind of mixing the grays and the pinks and the tans, and then stippling them back and through. Gives you a little bit kind of that watercolor effect. Is that sharp? Because the answers are all right in front of you. That's kind of what that conversation is. You know, if it's Mars, you know, I think is a classic one. Even Vietnam Earth and stuff like that. Oops. So just that's going to be how you play that up. Even the Golan Heights and some other stuff. You know, certain other colors on planet Earth, or even the kind of the current contemporary in Ukraine. We have a real black, rich Earth. So those colors will be down there. So if it is a purple, then you're going to have those tones down. And you just typically, if you're confused about that, then a light, medium, and dark will solve a lot of that problem too. So if it is a purple, for example, you're going to want to have a really pale violet lavender, your regular violet purple, and maybe, you know, really like a deeper, darker Prussian blue, and or some crimson reds to tweak that, because red and blue make your purple. And that kind of conversation too. So you got 3 or 4 or 5 colors to play with to tweak all that. And then maybe a white to pale that all out, you know, pull that out and pull it down. 2 hands. Do we have 2 hands back in? Wow. I'm pissed off, coach. Yeah. Well, you know, Belichick, man, it's opening week, guys. You know, I can't have you fumbling the ball, you know, can't have you being Oregon Ducks playing Georgia. That was so hard to watch. I couldn't. You know, I know my Oregon State boys are probably happy, but yeah, that was not good football. But Notre Dame hung in there. We had a good 3/4, so I was okay with that. I don't think we made the right adjustments to the adjustments being made, but I think that's a good team. But I look out for SC. That team's hungry. They got a lot to prove. That's going to be a team. Yeah, that Michigan Ohio State game will be rowdy this year, as always. Yeah, and then there's Bama, old school Bama. Yeah. But hey, who else gets mad at you on YouTube? Right? I mean, come on, that's what you're here for. You got to get yelled. If you're gonna step on that, you're gonna get yelled at. That's not my problem. Now it's all, you guys all know that's all for your benefit. Because I got to get you guys to really recognize, certain key steps. But you can see right here. So to recap, you've got the 3-4 dust colors put down as the original first layer. I did a darker tone and put up on top of that, which incorporates those colors. But it's the same conversation you see me with the pigments. They're all batched up, 4, 5, 6 colors in one batch, and then multiple batches on top of each other. That's how you get 6, 7, 10, 8 colors going through on your dirt to give you the depth to that. It's never just, like I said, it's never just like one bottle, a jar of love. It's 15 to 20. So invest in that time. If you're going to invest in these products, and invest in that conversation. That's how I'd tackle that. Even the enamel washes is invest it to mix, to understand that I know that Starship Filth is super hot, sexy color. You start slapping that all over everything, and every single model is going to look like Starship Filth. You've lost me at the second time. Like, that's what I mean by that. Even as a judge, I'm like, okay, cool. What else are you doing? Like, that doesn't advance that conversation. So you're going to have because that's a hot color, you have 3 or 4 around to really pull this together. So you've got variations of that tone, because if you're not going to use oils, then at least treat it's all chemicals, guys. It's all thin chemicals. All this is. So that should kind of, yeah, go Pats, Wayne. It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how your season goes. I really am this time. I think he's such an interesting fella. He makes he makes it interesting. He's so unique in his conversation in terms of what he's doing. Because didn't he run in the offense this year a little bit? That too, that whole thing. Yeah, it'll be cool. Just coming in with a little bit of, so those of you that like this part, a little bit of spot pin washes. I'm gonna do a few. So when I do my pin washes like this, I'm selecting them just a couple. This is a toe hook spot, so it'll probably maybe get a little bit more dirty and greasy around there. Let it flow a little bit. I don't mind it too much. I do use capillary action to your advantage is kind of where I go with that. Not that I don't use it. I just don't do everything that way. I need to do some speckling here in a sec. No, but you're not to the point of running laps yet. What I need to do is I need to see you guys execute some of this stuff, try this stuff, go in and be bold, try it, see what happens. Those you can be running laps are the ones that just don't, you still stick with the one color plan. Those will be the dudes that got to go off and do laps. Because the work that I see, at least from my perspective, is good quality work. I think you guys understand where your limitations are, and you're asking the right questions, and that's okay. Some of them ask a lot, but that's okay too. But it'll click. I can see why women struggle. It'll click, though. I promise it'll click. But it's only going to click if you try. Like, I'm never going to get rid of my slice if I just don't play the game of golf. If I don't go to the range and practice, gripping the club properly and getting rid of that slice and keeping the head down and all that kind of stuff. That only happens if you practice and do that. And you can't play 18 holes of golf with a slice in your game thinking you're going to get rid of your slice. It's not how that works. It's the same with this stuff. So you can see even through all that conversation, I was able to get just a nice bit of grease and grime and kind of dusty love and that little nook and cranny of, I'm trying to intensify some of this a little bit because what it does is it balances out that work that we did, a while back now, and kind of ties in. It gives your eye that play to go across. Now, I don't have to do the whole thing the same way, and I don't recommend that either of the even Steven. So definitely play up your asymmetry, your points of interest and focal points, on the model, because each model will talk to you. This has this really cool box structure of stowage. You can use that, and then you've got this really unique, L-shaped armor plan kind of over there, and all this little rivet love in there. But don't pin wash every single rivet dark. That's not how that works unless it was splashed through black mud, if you know what I mean by that. So you can play up a few of them. Same thing with rivets on a plane. You look at them, you'll see a couple of them are they're popping out differently. So definitely understand that part of it. Let's do a little speckling and then we'll call it a day, because we're at 3 hours. But we did some good work though. Is all that stuff? Oh, is that good? Yeah, we might be able to do a little sand on that. Let me lighten this up a little bit. I want a little. So again, it's all right there on the palette. All you're seeing me doing is the original mixtures, just pulling some lighter tones because I just want a little bit of a lighter dust speckle. That'll work. Get that in here. That gets you that kind of natural randomness in there a little bit. Go a little bit wetter, a little more translucent. Kind of splash of it. Not really tossed up dirt as it is kind of, what am I trying to say? Just kind of getting that speckly grittiness of dirt that happens. It's a good way to do that. You do have to be careful is I've got a panel I've not really played with. So it's a good idea just to come in and clean some stuff up. Because you can weather that separately, because I'd have to tilt that model up to get that part. So you can come in and weather that section a little separately. So make sure that when you're kind of at a stopping point, there's nothing kind of awkward that you're going to have dried paint about, and then you go, because this will dry. This is oils. This will dry to paint. Come in. Make sure that's a little big brush, a little bit smaller. Just tweaking some of them. If any of them stand out, you can kind of come in and what you want to do is I want to get that shadow's right in the wrong way, but it'll be there. So let's put more of a light dust under the gun, and then we'll blend that down. So you can put kind of, when you do dust, like where to put it, anything that kind of covers something, there will create kind of a low pressure vacuum, and dust will collect in those areas too. So if you've got an overhang like this machine gun barrel, you'll get a collection of dust that hides out underneath there. That's kind of that's one way to figure that out. And it's just kind of subtle tone on tone. I'm trying to knock you out with the dust. I'm missing a machine gun barrel though. And the little tarp dude that I made. I'm gonna go find him. Just checking the work. Still wet right there. Dry this up. I'll make master models out of you guys yet. So you can see painted, chipped, unweathered, painted chip with just the OPR weathering right there. And it's just all the oils and what the difference is. And there's 6 to 7 colors in that, because that's what's on the palette. So pretty straightforward. Just got to commit to it. Just got to make that leap of faith. You really got to embrace kind of what you're doing. Yeah, I get that it's your baby. I do, but it's not your car. So if you F it up, it's not that big a deal. And then like you're doing, Mike, in your case, what you're doing, like with the exhaust, if you don't like it and you do want to redo it, it's a little bit of, let it dry, knock it down with a little sandpaper, Just kind of reset that surface a little bit, and then spray and go and do it again. I'd rather have you do that than not be happy about it. You know, don't be afraid to redo something if you are to that point where like, I don't really like that. You know, you're the author of anything. So everybody out there, you know, don't fear mistakes. You can always, everything's fixable, and it's super literal. It is. It really, really is. Okay, make sure these are good. Put you aside. All right, let's see what we got. So from earlier, 2 hands, you missed all the fun. Let's get this guy off here. Oop, that's still not dry. There it goes. Nice. Okay. Removal of said tarps. This guy out of here. This guy out of here. All right. Now the test of this to know if it's ready. If you can touch and leave a fingerprint, then it's not dry, but it's pretty good. I think we can. Let's see. And again, if I screw it up, it's fixable. I can always make some more. It's a little gummy, not quite sandable yet. So what I'm going to do next in my spare time, because it'll take a minute, is just start sanding and shaping that. It's it needs another hour. I can tell it's not in damage, and I'm not going to screw anything up, but I'll go at that. Start with probably a 240. I've got some 120. Dude, I'm telling you, these little things are money. God hands, they're little standard. Oh yeah, that little 120. That'll cut through that. Yeah, one set. I can still smidge sticky. Smidge sticky. That's somebody's username on Instagram. Smidge sticky. I'm the only one laughing. Trust me. You guys are like, shut the fuck up, dude. 2 hands. I love it. Fun with putty. Oh, you missed, dude. There's so many good ones today, Jeff. It's good to see you. We haven't seen you in a minute. And Mike, you know I love you. You know that's meant as a coach, and to those of you that are listening quietly and not participating and all that kind of good stuff, because there's a few of you out there. Understand that where we're going with this, the reason for this particular channel, there's plenty of just, you know, I don't want to say average, but there's plenty of just kind of the traditional processes, and this isn't that. It just isn't that. So if you're uncomfortable with colors and understanding, because I know the marketing is pretty intense sometimes with some of these companies, and what they do is just, let's just call it a simple conversation in basics. Buy threes, buy it in threes. So let's shift to that a little bit. Buy 3 dusts, buy 3 greens, buy 3 reds, 3 oranges, 3 yellows, and just tick light, medium, dark. Get that going if you're new to this. And even in the Starship Filth conversation, of those of you that like to play with those products, because it's that color that everybody sees. Oh, what color is that? And that's what it was. Well, it's not, because the model is actually doing quite a few other things, and he's just kind of not telling you that too, by the way. There's also those dudes. But buy in threes. So if you see that target color, then bracket it on the company profile. Whoever it is, whatever they're making, just bracket it by the one, and then go light and dark. It's not that hard. And I think you guys can all stand in front of a color chart and do that, even if you're not good with. If you're colorblind, then take a kid or a partner with you that has good eyeballs and say, that's what we're talking about. That's the value, which is kind of the black and white scale, that kind of value. And then you need to go and bracket it and then work that way. Develop your products that way. If you're not comfortable with that conversation. The rest of this, the brushes and the thinners, you've all seen that for a decade now. It's all the same. Nothing's changed. What else? Trying to hit the high spots for you guys today. So it's a good question, Mike. Don't do anything rash. And then what else? Is that it? References. Now we didn't really get into that. The Churchill Super Churchill's come along good. Having some fun with kind of that bit. Ooh, battery's getting low, 20%. So Super Churchill counterbalance underway. 90 mil gun tank, M47 90 mil gun being transplanted to this guy. Centurion bits and pieces from the FE Club, good basics. And we decided that, and I've decided I want as kind of the what if part of this. If you're unfamiliar or you're coming in late, you missed all that. Is I still want it to look like a Churchill. I still want it to have the thing I like about Israeli conversions in particular is that the vehicle, even like the M113s with the angle armor on the side, the Zeldas, like that still has an M113. I thought about maybe Zelda for a second on this, but I'm not going to. I think the Puma style, the heavy skirts, all that stuff, I think that'll play well on this particular vehicle. But the rest of this and kind of taking the decks of some of the other pieces, because I think that would be a smart play. It's I'm not going to design my own engine deck. I don't have the moxie for that, but we'll kit bash the shit out of it. Lots to do. This is the infant style stage of a project like this. I got to figure out the rear fenders. I might even take some of the Centurion fender bits and kind of pull off the Churchill fender bits. Like oftentimes Israelis modified the fenders for dust skirts and stuff like that. That's a common thing. It's an easy manufacturing thing for them to do. So that's where we're going with that. And then that big cage mount, basket on the back, turret cage, turret basket in the side bins. This will be pretty cool. This will come along, and then all the Blazer armor. Go Blazers. That actually was a little pun that I didn't mean to do. Yeah. What else? Did I miss any other questions? There's a few of you guys colorblind. I've had the conversation on colorblind. I've been asked, and I do adhere to. I put all the colors in every book, a list for everybody out there who is. It's designed for those that have trouble with the greens and the reds in particular. I know there's a sizable number of men that have that problem, a number of model builders. So I do put those in there for all that stuff. No, Jeff, don't be that guy. It's a Centurion, Jeffrey. It's British. It's British on British. Yeah, just you'll have some fun part to love. The gun was an M47 90 mil. That's what you heard. No, but it is a diesel. It is the U.S. Continental diesel engine deck off a Centurion 1980 Centurion cut and kit bash. So this is a kit bash project of a what if Israeli Super Churchill. If they were doing the same things to their Shermans and AMX 13s and Turan 5s and 6s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What would have happened if they had a few Churchills on hand? That's all I'm doing. It's kind of the impetus of this project. The reason is it's my old Churchill from an old magazine project from 15 years ago that has resurfaced, and I decided to rework it. The question was, do I rebuild it as a Tamiya Churchill Mk VII? The answer was no. Well, what could I do with it? And the answer is, what if Israeli Super Churchill? So there you go. More fiction. Nothing but, my friend. So yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned for the notes and the happenings. If you're late to the party, there's a bunch of early information in terms of the company, what's going on. More news coming as it happens. Pimping up my tanks Israeli style. You got it, Zal. Good to see everybody. Hope you enjoyed this stream. We covered a lot of territory. Stephen Willie, you're welcome, sir. Hope everybody understands that when I put the foot down, it's to improve the breed, improve the crew, get the team. Enough of the penalties. Let's get your first down. We'll get your first down. We'll get you second first down, and we'll get you to score. That's what we're going to do. You got it, guys. Everybody have a good one. I'm going to rewind. You got it, Corey. Good to see. I see everybody coming through. It's going to release this exact. They might, Zal. You never know. Tristan, what's up, bud? Good to see you. Yeah, there's some good 3D printer conversations earlier in the stream when I was making some sculpture mess. We did some tarps today. Actually, these are nicely. I mean, no, not patting myself, but those come out pretty good. Tarps are always a fun little thing when you've got such a waste. I saved some of that, but I mean, that's on me. I thought it would take more, but I figured that's probably a good example of a counterweight on the back of a Churchill for a bigger gun. Any other final questions before I sign off? Yep. Thank you, guys. Gotta go watch from the beginning. Hit the likes. Yeah, please do. Patreon, book news. What else? Yeah, summer's over. Let's hit it. Time to make some models, boys. We'll see you on the next one. We'll probably switch for the robot crowd. I got a lot of stuff coming for that I want to push through. Standard mecha gunpla this time. I think we're at a stage where we can throw some paint down. It's been a few minutes. I've been doing a lot of custom work, and the Patreon mecha team has gotten a lot of custom build parts of those. But it's time for some paint. I haven't painted a robot in a minute. So dinner's chicken and asparagus, so I can have stinky pea later. I'm on my diet. I'm on my looking good. First, last. You're welcome. Is there a middle in there? First, last, second, third. Yeah, no, it's fun. If you're looking for the conversation on colors even more in terms of the tubes of paint, and I'll probably debated how to play this out because I gotta break down the Patreon guys already got the video on the oils, but you're gonna see a big shift in my use of brands in terms of like, because I have locally sourced stuff here that I want to get into a little bit more than the Spanish brands, and that's not a negative per se. It's just I've used them for 15 years. I want to do something else. That's all that is really. You know, and I want to, and I've been walking. It's like I walk by that storefront. I see those painted tubes calling my name. And I'm like, so I finally bit the bullet, but I can't use all 50 tubes of paint I have now. So I have to kind of make some decisions, and I've gone ahead and made a new selection of stuff. So it's all the same range of colors. So just, there's nothing different. It's just made from different people. That's all. So if you hear different color brand names and stuff like the KINGART and the 12 Shades of Gray and now Gambling, you'll understand. So that's what it is. Smokes crib to this. That's funny. For asparagus rules, adios immunity. Yeah. So I just throw them in the thing. Tarps pasta. It trains. Yeah. You walked away, Corey. I think the answer is, and I know Pat asked that question too, probably trains. An opening will be towards the end of the year, Corey, because I want to do, I've got some hoppers. What else do I have? I have some N scale, and I want to do some, it's kind of micro scale. It's kind of like you really want to see what it's like to play with, 2FS does great N scale work, but that thing is effing super, super small. It's pushing 1/200, in terms of scale work. So I guess for naval guys and stuff like that, it's probably going to be valuable. All right, I'm out. It's been a long stream today. I didn't mean to go quite 3 hours and 20, but we'll see you when we see you. Take care, guys. Have a good one.